There you
All
go.
right, red light is on. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with Lewis of Norton MMA for the Cage Warriors Mega Show, aka Cage Warriors 135 and 136 Breakdown Show, both taking place this weekend, April 1st and 2nd, live from Manchester, England. As always, I am here with my European MMA co-analyst cohort, Lewis. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm excited about another UK scene. Double bill, 26 fights in Manchester, and at the same time, there's a convention going on there as well this weekend, where you can see George St. Pierre, Tito Ortiz, Bisping, Aspinall. Good meet and greet.
Yeah.
So Manchester's the place to be this weekend.
I love it. Love it. Are you making the trip down there?
No, I'm not. Unfortunately,
Okay.
just due to not leaving dogs alone for a whole day.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Of course, yeah, we've got 26 fights to break down today. Gonna do our best with the fights where there's both tape and available, and no lines on my website yet. I do have lines available from PestFightOdds.com, so not sure what your book is, the Czar, but do have lines at least. It's a little bit easier to go through in that way. But let's go ahead and get started. We got 26 fights, going to be a couple hours probably. Timestamps will be in the comments afterwards. Yeah, all of the above. Pretty good two cards here. I think they did a good job for the most part of getting pretty solid talent throughout. I apologize if you can hear the traffic noise, but I'm in Washington, D.C., so there's always traffic. What can I say? But we're starting at the 145-pound division here. Milad, I believe is how you say his name. I'm going to say a lot of names wrong today. I apologize. Thomas Aaron, though. I don't know what that means, Black Panther. But Milad Ahadi taking on Antonio Sheldon here, the 5-2 fighter out of England, taking on the Afghanistan origin fighter of Milad the Body Ahadi, now fighting on SBG South Shields and Team Fish Tank in England. I'll talk about Antonio Sheldon first here. Both these guys pretty standard. Lost a legal elbow, minus 2,000. That's rough. Yeah, that was a terrible stoppage. But what can I say? Frank Mir as a referee are going to get those things. But yeah, that was rough with the LFA. But don't be putting minus 600s in too many parlays that risk $2,000 in the future at the Czar. Back onto this fight though. Antonio Sheldon, as I said, 5-2. 30 years old on a 3-fight win streak. Last fought in November of last year with UKFC, a UK fighting championship. Got a knockout there over an 11-2 opponent. Prior to that, with MTK, got a finish by doctor stoppage of a 6-1 opponent. So he's faced a few decent opponents. Went back and was able to watch his fights with David Zahn and Roscoe. Roscoe was an interesting fight back and forth, really. And he got at minus 300. That's fair, the Czar. And, that was regardless, that should have been a no contest. But, and Antonio Sheldon, he's pretty well-rounded, likes to put the pressure on, eventually move in for takedowns after kind of crowding with the striking. He's not a bad fighter by any means, and he's faced pretty good competition. Not like unbelievable competition, but he's faced pretty good competition. Can go the full distance and keep a pretty good pace. I think that's one of his strongest attributes here. Coming off that knockout, taking on Milad the Body Ahadi here. Milad definitely coming into this fight as the more hyped up prospect here. Both guys early in their career, though. But fighting out a Team Fish Tank, as I said, 3-1 overall here. Good striker, throws good head kicks. He did also face a much better fighter of the two in Kier Harvey his last time out with Kelp the Gladiator. He has been off for about a year now. Had an injury and had some trouble finding some fights. But for the most part, keeps it on the feet. He does have his one finish by submission here. I think that Malad is the much more technical, longer of the two. I think Antonio is going to have to close the distance in this one. I think it's going to be a pretty close fight, though. If I had to edge towards, I would take Malad. I do like that Kira Harvey fight last time out. And he's shown he can deal with kind of the pressure from that last fight with the wrestling. And I think Antonio is going to look to wrestle quite a bit in this fight. I think Malad's going to be able to keep it on the feet. And, I'll take Malad by decision. It's a close fight, though. And it's lined pretty closely as well. But what's your thoughts on this one, Liz?
I definitely agree. I think Antonio will grapple. I think it's a no-brainer that Malad's got a very good striking base, and he's training with some really good people. Team Fish Tank has, you got like Stephen Gardner, James Hendon's down there, Perry Goodwin's up there, Andrew Fisher, Phil DeVries. There's, off the top of my head anyway, there's probably 20 more I'm missing, but it's a really good striking clinic down there, and they're very grappling heavy as well. They don't just focus on one thing. It's not just like you've entered a kickboxing gym. Sheldon's got a real tough fight on his hands. I think I've heard a lot of good things about Hardy. So my advice would be, if you haven't seen these guys, to stay away from a fight like this, because they're both guys that, again, they're raw and you don't know what they're kind of setting at. I will say Antonio Sheldon's fought more at lightweight, right, and is a bigger guy just off the bat. So, but the striking, keep it standing. If you can create the distance.
This fight is at featherweight, which I think is important
at featherweight.
To know, so
yeah, I think Hardy's going to be fresher at featherweight, and I think if he can create the distance and land the kicks, he's got a chopping low kick anyway. Yeah, I can't see Antonio doing it for 3 rounds. I can see him stealing around with grappling, but I can't see a Hardy struggling that bad for 3 rounds against someone with Antonio's mediocre hands. There's not going to be much pressure put on him, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I would anticipate Malad has a good reach advantage as well in this fight. I think he's going to be a longer, rangier fighter, more technical as well. Younger also, so I do think that the 145 is an advantage for Malad, if there's an advantage there. Minus 150, plus 120 on Antonio Sheldon. You can go and look at Sheldon's tape. I mean, all of his fights, he fights pretty much the same way. If he can be successful, he can get on top, dictate the pace and where the fight takes place. He's been successful, but I mean, a guy like Ross Coe, not a world beater at all, and was able to dictate quite a bit where that fight took place. And I think Malad's going to be able to do that. So, yeah, I like him as a minus 150 to start out. But, again, 26 fights, you can be selective here. Should be a good way to start it out, though, as of now. Next fight is at 170 pounds. I really like this fight as well. Dan Hepworth. Don't let the record fool you. He's only 0-1. So as an amateur, had a really interesting amateur career and started out kind of in the deeper end of things. Appreciated Eddie stopping by, wishing us a good breakdown. Appreciate it. Taking on Emil Brown. Emil Brown has had a pretty notable start to his 2-1 career. This should be an interesting one here. I will start with Emil Brown, the 2-1 fighter here. He did lose his last time out with Cage Warriors, fighting on Team Renegade. Lots of fighters who all kind of let Lewis talk more about that camp, but Tom Breeze and many others over there at Team Renegade. Lost a split decision to James Sheehan. We'll be talking about James Sheehan later on the card. His other 2 wins did come by guillotine choke, which is, a little bit of a concern. He's been in Cage Warriors for all of his fights, which is great. The Joshua Wardy fight. Joshua Wardy, usually a 155er. I believe we'll be breaking him down later on. I'm not sure, though. But definitely watch a lot of Joshua Wardy fights. He's good at 155, a little bit undersized for 170. But Emil took advantage of it and, kind of killed a hype train in Joshua at that point for his debut. And then got the guillotine over a 2-4 Joel Downey Cave. He was 1-3 as an amateur, faced really good competition though, including Fabian Edwards, and also got a win as an amateur with guillotine. So the dude's got a squeeze, needless to say here. Will that be a factor? It could against a guy like Dan Hepworth, who's only 0-1. As an amateur, had a pretty successful amateur career, however. His first fight was in 2019. So he's been off for a couple years since his pro debut. A little bit concerning there. It was a 1-2 opponent. He lost the decision with full contact as well. Was able to watch that fight with Eslani. It was close. It was competitive. I'm not sure why he took the time off he did, but I do think it's a good sign for him, to come back much improved. You look at the amateur career, it was very successful, 6-0, a lot of KOs on there as well. Waited until he got the Cage Warriors, and he does have experience with Cage Warriors as an amateur in 2018. Yeah, be an 8-2 opponent. This one's a tough one for me. I think Emil Brown is going to have some big physical tools, but I think Dan Hepworth is going to come out and be much improved. So I'm kind of making some predictions based on unknowns here, but he's looked in really great shape from social media, seems very focused. And I think Emil Brown, is okay. Obviously that win to start out his career was really impressive. But there's just something to me about a guy who's got a lot of guillotine wins and nothing else it's a little bit concerning for me. I feel like Emil has, gotten pretty far on some physical capabilities. And I think Dan Hepworth is going to come out here, and I think he's going to spring the upset, personally. I think he is going to be much improved. I think with Emil Brown, if Dan shows up with ring rust or less so, I think Emil can beat him for sure. But I'm going to take a shot on the underdog here in Dan Hepworth. I like the preparation and everything I'm seeing, and I think he takes this one. I'll say by decision.
Oh, I like it. Well, Dan Hepworth's coming in to strike with this one. That's right. There's no hesitation there. I'm going to be incredibly biased to a lot of these fighters because he's fighting out of Hardy Warhead MMA. So it's
yeah. Tell me about these two camps, Hardy Warhead and Renegade too.
Well, that's Dan Hardy and Jimmy Warhead's camp up in Nottingham. They've got a ridiculous amount of people there. Dean Truman, who's on next, right. You could talk about next, but it's a striking heavy for sure camp. But Jimmy Warhead is black belt on the ground. They have incredible grappling coaches there as well. Venator Submission as well as the jiu-jitsu coach down there. If you think these, just because it's Hardy Warhead, two guys known for slugging it out, if you think it's just a striking camp, you'd be absolutely shocked the amount of grappling they do down there and MMA training in general. But
Warhead's a judo guy too, as well.
Yeah, he is.
Right?
Yeah, he's very good on the floor. He's got great. Exactly. So, but Renegade is, as you said, Tom Breese. You got Leon Edwards. You got the Edwards brothers down there. You've got Arnold Allen training up there for this last camp.
His striking looked decent.
Yeah, it's just some absolute beasts down there. But Emil, to me, is super one-dimensional. Don't let the camps fool you in the sense of, because he's training with a good camp, it means he's good. Not necessarily the case. Emil has a lot of holes in his game. He's very hittable. And I think Dan's been off for a while. He's been training very hard. He's very good. He looks great for the size. Great amateur record. And they weren't just, that was a golden ticket. It's the best place you could probably be for amateur other than Cage Warriors East. So to me, Dan's going to light him up on the feet. Emil's best chance is to grapple him. I don't think he's got the gas tank for 3 rounds. And I agree with the decision for Dan. Or late stopping.
Yeah, I mean, you got an 0-1 guy they're putting in there against a 2-1 opponent. So, both these guys are early in their career. But, I mean, Emil Brown, he bursted on the scene with that first win, I think. I'm pretty sure he was a significant underdog in that debut. And, he's got a squeeze again. And he's been in there, albeit unsuccessfully, with guys like Fabian Edwards and everything like that. But the price here, I'm going to take a shot on the dog. Dan Hepworth, nearly a 2-1 underdog here in the States, plus 185, minus 225 on Emil Brown. I think it's a good shot. You are betting on some unknowns here. You're betting on some potential. You're betting on improvements in the time off. And his debut, again, was against a 1-2 opponent. Aslani didn't look bad, though. If you go back and watch that fight, I don't think he was a bad 1-2 opponent at all. So again, you got to look into the opponent there. Both these guys are.
Joshua Wardy's very physical guy as well.
Yeah.
I think he just got his brown belt in jiu-jitsu as well. He trains at the MMA clinic down not too far from me actually, but they're owned by Graham Boylan.
Yeah, no, it should be a good one though, and I'm going to take a shot at Hepworth at nearly 2-1. So we will
take him for this one. Take him for this one.
yeah, exactly. We'll move on to the next fight here. We have Giuseppe Rugeri, obviously out of Italy, if you need me to tell you where he's from, taking on Dean Truman, the Englishman. So I'll get Lewis to give me a little thoughts on how the Italians will be received in Manchester in a minute. But I'm going to talk about Dean Truman real quick. I like this guy a lot, 10-7 record, because, I mean, the dude doesn't say no to fights. I'll say that much. He's been around for a while. He's a veteran of the game. He's on a 3-fight losing streak right now, but, I mean, he's facing top-tier competition. Really, I mean, George Hardwick, Morgan Cherie, and Mads Burnell. I don't think you can have a harder 3-fight streak in Cage Warriors than that. And the last one was against George Hardwick. Like, that's, and George commanded. He looked good. And the fight he had scheduled before those 3 that was canceled was Sorenbach. His last 2 wins were Louis Monarch and Aiden Lee. That's insane. Finished Aiden Lee in the 3rd round. Really good fight. Dean Truman
that was for the belt as well.
And that was for the belt. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, the dude's last 5 out is as hard as anybody's in any organization, definitely in this organization. So it's like, and now he's, coming into this fight, he's taking on a 7-0, pretty unknown Italian fighter in Rugeri here. But I mean, Truman, he's definitely looking to use his stand-up here. He's got really good boxing, has a high guard often with his striking that will leave his body open. And I feel a lot of fighters have figured this out with Dean and taken advantage of that. George in the last fight especially just was destroying that body till finally the body shot got through. But definitely something that I'm hoping he's worked on during that time off, because that's a pretty big hole to have. Most of the time before that, before the last 2, people were looking to grapple with him, but now it does seem like, kind of both are catching up a little more here. He is taking a step down in competition, ideally here, but he's taking on an undefeated fighter in Rugeri. Rugeri is very aggressive when it comes to his wrestling, but it's also it's just kind of hard with Giuseppe. There's not a lot of tape available on him. He's won all 7 of his fights, but he's, 22 years old, very, very young in his career, and they're throwing him into the deep end here. And the wins are decent, but I haven't been able to watch a lot of these. There's not a lot of Day in the Cage available, Centurion Fight Camp Championship, Golden Cage. These are just, I wasn't able to find any of these. So that's, my issue here. One fight as an amateur, so just kind of went right into the pro scene. I'm not sure how the amateur scene is in Italy. And then you doing ex MMA predictions. We'll see. I'll see if I can get to the tape. I've been working on this tape for the last week plus. So but with Giuseppe, it's just hard because I have to go off of what I'm seeing for the most part. I watched one fight. He did go for the grappling pre-immediately. It was his last fight with Mceown. And it, he looked good ground and pound, but looks to grapple, looks to stay on top, looks to have top pressure. That's how you kind of beat Dean Truman to the last couple. So the thing that's my concern is just, I think that Dean still has some gas left in the tank. I think he is going to be able to, put up enough of a resistance here. And I believe just use his IQ to kind of keep this fight where he needs to. The takedown defense is going to be key. If he can't stop those takedowns, Giuseppe's going to win this fight. I think he's going to. I like Dean Truman in this spot. And, fuck it. I'm going to give Dean Truman a finish. I think he's finishing guys like Aiden Lee and other very tough guys early on. He's been in there with the best of the best. And, maybe Giuseppe is that next line of guys at 22. I'm just not ready to commit to that yet. Just give me Dean Truman. Give me him by TKO second round.
Yeah, I mean, Giuseppe's never fought anyone the level of Dean. Dean's record is very real. From his debut to his last fight, he's fought nothing but hard fights. He's got a
And the
very
crowd
true
will be
MMA
with
record.
him. No,
Dean is mate. He's really loved. He's an absolute unit. The only worrying thing for Dean for me is he's taken a lot of damage in these last few fights. He's taken a lot of time off, and I know, obviously through connections, that he is so prepared for this fight. He's been working his ass off. He's been grappling heavy. He's a very good grappler in himself. I don't know whether he's better than Giuseppe at grappling because of what we've seen. The opponents he's been facing aren't top notch, but you only can be, you can beat what's in front of you, and he's dismantling them. To be fair, he doesn't really lose a round of what I've seen Giuseppe. But again, I think if he tries to implement his game plan and suddenly there's a wall in the way in Dean's not letting it happen, how does he react to that? Because so far in his career, he's had everything his own way. He's very athletic. He's very young. But Dean's that guy that will say no. You hit him in the face and he doesn't fall down, suddenly you're out of gas and he pushes the pace. The Aiden Lee win for me is such a ridiculous win for Dean. He had no right winning that fight. Aiden Lee was
a war.
Yeah, Aiden Lee was the man. He was the favorite to take that as well. Morgan Chariot is an absolute unit. He went to the 5-round war with Paul Hughes and Jordan Vucenic. Mads Burnell, my feelings with him. He's a ridiculous human being. To get cut from the UFC at that point was just stupid. And George Hardwick is, I told you the last time we did, he's the future of this division. He was meant to be fighting for the belt, and he dismantled Palaki in the last fight as well with didn't even absorb a punch. Just absolutely dismantled him over 2 rounds. So I don't, those wins and losses, it's like, okay, it is what it is. I think Giuseppe's going to find himself in a real dogfight. I think he'll win the first round, and I think Dean's going to come out in the second and third and put him away. I really
think it's going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, I'm too emotionally invested with Dean Truman over watching his whole career. So it's hard for me to place a bet on it, but smart money, I would still face Dean Truman. He's been there, done that. He's super well prepared. He's not chinny at all. His body needs some, his body needs attention. But again, Giuseppe's not a body puncher. He's not a body kicker. He's a grappler.
Right.
I don't see him finishing Dean. I think Dean's too tough. And it's 3 rounds. Dean can let it all go. He struggles over the 5 rounds, not the 3. So I think you're going to see a very good Dean Truman here.
Yep, all that gets us to a Dean Truman minus 160, plus 135, or plus 130 on Giuseppe Rugeri here. Should be a good fight. I like the price on Mr. Truman, though. And, I'm looking forward to that one. I think that the, crowd, I'm definitely going to be rooting against the Italian in that one as well. I think that
especially with Dan or Jimmy in the corner as well. When people see those guys walk out at a small event, they go nuts. So.
And that is at 145. Just a reminder to everybody there. 125 for the next fight here. This is one that we'll probably have a little less to say on. One, because Anders Sanchez is making his professional debut, taking on the 2-1 Connor Wilson. He's seen some flyweight fights over here. Obviously losing Hadley and a few others. They're trying to rebuild here, and this is where we start with the next generation Liverpool representative in Connor Wilson, 2-1 for the 24-year-old. Won last in September of 2021. With AFC, also known as Almighty Fighting Championship. Beat a 3-3 Jack Young, lost to an 0-2 Kieran Mulholland in June of last year with Cage Warriors by guillotine choke in the second round. Was able to watch that fight. Kieran Mulholland was a guy who he faced in the amateur career as well, so they were definitely comfortable with each other. And they face in Cage Warriors as well. A lot of his amateur career came with the Cage Warriors Academy as well as just in Cage Warriors. So I do like the experience there. He's lost to guys like Liam Giddens on the amateur scene. Mostly finished by submissions in his career. So definitely the hole in the game. He has 1 submission win in a decision. Anders Sanchez, the Spanish fighter, 10-1 as an amateur coming into his pro debut. quite a bit of hype. Did lose his final amateur fight back in 2018 with IMAF. So we've talked about IMAF in the past quite a bit. It was a split, but good experience on the regional scene. It was the Spanish regional scene for the most part. This is one that, I'm not going to be betting on or anything like that. I do think Andrew Sanchez taking 3 to 4 years off is a bit of a concern of mine. Not sure how we're going to see him coming back here. If I had to pick, though, I'll go with Ander, but this is, again, one that I'm not, putting any sort of money on or any sort. Like, it's really a complete guess. I would assume that, Connor, with the rhythm and actually being a pro and experience and everything, should take it, but he's got a loss to an 0-2 guy. So last year. So give me Andrew Sanchez here.
I'll go Connor, just because he's next gen Liverpool and he's going to get a big reception. As Liverpool's next to Manchester at the top of the country.
He's 2-1 favorite. Plus 170 on Andrew Sanchez. Just
he's going to have you better believe Paddy and Molly will be there for this one. So and is not going to get a good reception coming off a few years. I'm just concerned getting submitted by a 0-2 guy in your last fight or 2 fights ago with Cage Warriors. A little bit concerned there. I always am concerned with those as well. But it was a guillotine, and a lot of people could just fall into a guillotine.
Yeah, no, they had fought before, so I think we've got plenty of fights to break down. We're gonna have a lot more to say about most of the other fights. So we're gonna move on to the first of 2 Shelley brothers. That is Ryan Shelley taking on Magdi Juriev here, and these guys are fun.
I think it's Gareev, by the way.
Gareev, sorry.
Yeah.
Magdi Gareev. I like the Shelley brothers. They're both fun. I think they're going to be in Cage Warriors for quite a while. They seem very marketable, and unless they move on to the next. But taking on the Manchester top team representative here in Magdi Jurayev, you said? Gareev. I'm never going to get it right, but I do.
Just don't worry about it. Who cares?
Yeah. But Magdi, I can say that part. 5 straight wins going back to his amateur career. Last fought in September of last year, getting the win there. I think that this should be a pretty even fight. Now, so far, Magdi's taken on 2 0-2 fighters, gotten the submission, both quick submission of Sam Whitley, who really did not look like he was ready to be in there. Amateur wise, started out, had some lower points. I did watch his amateur fight with Joshua on Wardy. When he struggles to get those takedowns and get it to the ground, he gets beat up on the feet pretty badly, to be honest. And I get he has a spinning heel kick. That was a very fortunate spinning heel kick. I watched that one as well. He's looking to get it to the ground, grapple, and if he has to be on the feet, he's going to really struggle. And I think that with Ryan Shelley, when he's on the feet, he does not struggle. When he's on the ground, some more unknowns here. Gets compared to guys like Stephen Thompson with his kind of wide stance and kind of bouncing in and out, good kicks and everything. Got 2 wins by submission his last couple. Said he came in as strictly a kickboxer, knew nothing about grappling. So, maybe against some of these lower level opponents, he's able to test out the grappling, see how it's working. And, he's gotten a few finishes, hasn't faced a tremendous level of competition either as a pro. Amateur wise, went 5-1. He's really good on the feet. And I really do think that his stance makes it pretty hard for him to be taken down. I think his distance control is really nice as well. I think it's, I don't want to preview too much of the rest of my picks, but I think it's going to be a good night for the Shelley brothers. I like that they're both on this card. And I do like this matchup for Ryan. I think that he's going to be physically the larger opponent. He needs to avoid being on his back. That's obviously where Magdi wants to take this fight and keep the fight. Magdi could grind out a decision, but I think Shelley's going to put it on him and get the finish by TKO. So I like Ryan Shelley in this one. Good takedown defense, and the stand-up are miles apart.
Yeah, I think the comparison to Wonderboy is not a bad shout, to be honest. It's a traditional stance, isn't it? It's very wide based, and I don't
Yep.
think he's going to run into any problems, to be honest, until he finds someone that's going to chop his lead leg away and take away his power hand. Because so far, that's not Magdy's game.
No.
Magdy's game, he's not even going to notice that his lead leg's pressed very heavy into the canvas, and that's an opportunity to get free hits away. Essentially, Ryan Shelley can't check a kick to save his life, but he's only 3-0. He'll get there. Worlds apart striking, and I think at this level, I can't see him holding him down for 3 rounds again. He might nick around with the grappling if he manages to hold Ryan down. I think getting him down isn't that difficult. I think holding Ryan down is the other side of it. There's always 2 parts to grappling, isn't there? It's the takedown and then keep him there. So I don't see Magdy holding him down there. Manchester top team's not known for their grappling in particular. And based off his amateur record where he's getting smashed to bits, and I know Josh, I watched it live when Josh and Wardy beat the snot out of him. So,
yeah. Josh Wardy's a good fighter, though.
He's had a bad rap so far in his pro career. So
he's making bad decisions, but he's a good fighter.
Yeah, and some silly DQ he got. But yeah, I think Ryan Shelley should pretty much piece up Magdy and get I'm going to say a second round TKO.
Yeah, I like this spot for Shelley at -165. I think it's a good price. I expect that to
shoot that to be further apart, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it will shoot up as the week goes on here. That Magdy again comes in with a lot of confidence. He's definitely believes in himself. So I don't think he's going to shy away from the moment here, but should be an interesting fight here. But yeah, -165 plus 135 for Magdy. I like Shelley at that price. We're on to the bantamweight division now. Really interesting fight here. Bakhtariar, Oria. Oh man, yeah, Bakhtariar, Oria Hale, taking on the Don Colin Laharan. That could have went so much worse than it went. But Colin taking on Bakhtariar here. And I'm really excited for this fight. I've really liked what I've seen out of both these guys. Colin 5-0 here for the Don, or 4-0, Team Caban. So obviously Darren Till, Tom Aspinall, all the above, Mike Grundy, and others. Very good camp there. Last fought in July of this last year in LFL, which is known as Levels Fight League, beating Hussein Abbas Zadeh. Went to a decision with him, his first time going past the first round. His first 2 opponents had a combined record of 0-70. That's right, 0-70. Then he went up to a 3-5 guy and went back to a 0-0 guy. The only fight I was able to find was the Hussein Abbas Zadeh fight. It was, he's very aggressive, gets right in there, looks to strike, and, looks like he expects his strikes to get the finish a lot of times. Had a fight with Reese Mckeown on his amateur career, as well as Nathan Fletcher. Those are very good amateur fights to have. He did lose both of those fights by decision. He's never been finished. Most of the time, his finishes are going to come by KO. He's looking to strike, get in your face, and, put you to sleep. He has a ton of confidence in himself. He's not extremely well-rounded from what I've seen. I get he has the couple rear naked chokes of lower levels of competition, but against higher levels, I don't see that being the case. And Bakhtariar, Oria Hale, he's only 1-0, but Oria Hale, whatever you want to call it, he's only 1-0, 7-0, 7 straight going back to his amateur career, and he looks really, really good. The Jack Clark win was really impressive. It was with Cage Warriors. You can go back and watch it. Really sinks it in from an interesting angle. Shows that he can kind of deal with the takedowns, which I don't expect Colin to go to. But if Colin gets excited with the striking, gets the takedowns, I do think that Bakhtariar can reverse kind of the fight pretty quickly or finish from the back. He's got 1 loss on his amateur career, otherwise pretty unblemished. I like Oria Hale here. Oria Hale might not be able to say his name all that well, but from what I've seen, I think he fights kind of beyond his record. I think he's much more well-rounded, and I just think that Colin's going to kind of hit a schneid in this one. I think he's going to come in very confident, but I just think Oriakale is the better overall MMA fighter. Gets it to the ground and gets the submission.
It's pretty accurate to what I was thinking, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like these, I don't even want to start pronouncing the names now as well. But Cowlin as well, like his amateur record is far greater than his pro record, and that's kind of where I'm basing my opinion on him. I think he's incredibly one-dimensional, and I think he has very little grappling as well. I don't actually know how much he trains at Team Cowbon. I don't think it is a lot.
Okay.
I think that's just what Topology have. But yeah, I think Oriakale he should be able to put the fight where he wants it. He should be able to press his own game plan, and not really worry too much what Loughran's going to do, because what's he going to do? I don't think he's a significant. Even if he say he's a better striker, for argument's sake, which I don't even think he is. That's it. That's all he has to worry about. So I think he can take it where he wants to, and I can see him grinding out a 3-round decision, because I think Loughran is tough, but I don't think he's got enough skills to beat someone that has an extensive, incredibly impressive amateur record as Oriakale.
Yeah. And we can get him right now in America at plus 115 Oriakale. Really good. I like this as an underdog spot here. I expect him to be the favorite, even though he's taking off 4-0 fighter. I expect him to be a favorite by the time the fights come around. So Oriakale for both of us. In this one should be a good one there at 135 pounds. So we've had 3 145 pounds, 1 125, a 170, and a 135. Next up, we got the rare 205 fight in Cage Warriors here. So
once a year.
Yeah, there's is there a light heavyweight champion? I don't think there is.
I think it's vacant.
Yeah, it's vacant because they don't have a division. Hugo Gullion taking on Matthew Byfield here. And I've really enjoyed watching Matthew's tape here, also known as Matty here, 29 years old for the light heavyweight out of England. He's really been fun to watch, man. I really have enjoyed what I've seen. He looks very, very athletic, good size for the division, another Team Renegade representative here. 6'6", so really good, nice reach as well, over 80 inches. Coming off a loss by decision his last one, but fortunately all his tape is available, so was able to go back and watch his fight with Matthew Finley, a 3-0 opponent. Matthew Finley really looked pretty good at the beginning of that, and honestly, Matthew showed good composure, really good strikes, and I was able to turn that fight around, legit power. Followed that up with a 3-0 win by arm triangle. So really, I think is advancing his game pretty quickly. Has a loss on the amateur scene to Luke Traynor. Really good fight to go back and watch, even though it was an amateur fight. And we've seen how Luke Traynor's looked. And Matthew was right in there with them, honestly, throughout. I was pretty impressed by Matthew. The only fight I was able to find was his loss, actually, with Levels. I couldn't find the tape on that. I would assume that wrestling was used by Pauline Bigai in that one, because it just seems like on the feet he's pretty advanced at this point. Hugo Gullion, 1-0, fighting out of France, no amateur career. Fought in October of last year, got knocked out 4 minutes into a fight over Cedric Kung. Was able to watch that fight. Cedric looked like he was physically very impressive. I'm not sure otherwise how great he looked, but Hugo showed he could kind of deal with that. I really like Matthew Byfield. I think Matthew Byfield is a legit guy. It'll be interesting to see how they build the division. I think they could really build the division around him, if he sticks around for a while. But I think he's going to be very successful here. He's going to blow through Hugo, I think, and knock him out round 1.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I mean,
I'm a big believer in Byfield.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right, because I really like Byfield as well. He's a really nice guy. Got some really good skills. Got some great hands, great length. I think he's an 81-inch reach. He's a big boy. He's got the frame for it. Hugo, he has competed in kickboxing, so he's a good striker, but he's very chinny. Leaves his chin exposed. His hands are very, very low down because he waits for the counter shots. Matthew kind of presses the pace and lands his heavy shots of his own. He ignores a jab and kind of just goes straight in for long looping hooks. So there is room for overextension. And that's where that counter shot could come in with Hugo, which is similar to how I've compared Darian Weeks to Ian Gary. Is if that makes sense. Long looping shots. You know, there's a lot of power behind it, but the accuracy might diminish with the cardio. But yeah, I think Matthew has all the skills here, and I could see him even trying to just get it down to the mat. Hugo, as far as I've seen, has no grappling at all.
Yeah, he's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, it's just he's looking to have a nice 4 rounds kickboxing fight, and Matthew's a mixed martial artist, and I think he's at Team Renegade. He's training with Tom Breese. Tom Breese is a beast at that weight. You know, Tom Breese. If anyone's going, but he had an average UFC career or average MMA career. It's like, yeah, okay, he's just won in his last MMA fight since being cut from the UFC, and he's known as the gym beast. No one can beat him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like Matthew here. I like him by round 1 stoppage.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it sub 1 minute.
That would be great. Minus 600 on Matthew. Yeah, biggest favorite on the card, or one of the biggest favorites. Darren Stewart was till he was removed from the card, but he is now the biggest favorite on the card, even coming off of the loss. I thought I was going to be able to sneak one by maybe, but no. They're pretty clear Matthew should take this one, and I hope it's sub 1 minute with us minus 600. But moving on to the next fight. As of now, all the fights are listed on the main card, so I'm not really sure exactly when their cutoff is, or if this will even be the order by fight night. So I just want to say that. But we are to the next fight. This is at lightweight. We have another Shelley here in Adam Shelley taking on Stephen Hooper. This should be a fun fight. Stephen Hooper has been around for a while. He's had an up and down Cage Warriors career, but I mean, these kind of one of the types of guys in Cage Warriors just sticks around for quite a while. Out of SBG Manchester, Clocky T, 5-4 for Stephen Hooper here, coming off of a loss, which will happen often when you're 5-4. Lengthier, 5'11". Matt Inman is coached over there. In Manchester, it's going to be a home fight for him. He is coming off a fight with Mike Fikalak, who the Fikalak brothers legit, very, very good. Yeah, very good, showing there. Really made him, work hard in that one. Before that, a win over Tom Mearns. We know Tom Mearns well. Got a finish in that one by triangle. It is not easy to finish Tom Mearns at all. Again, Tom Mearns, one of these guys with one of these Dean Truman-esque records, but look at who he's facing throughout it, and that's why. So anytime someone beats him, I do rate it pretty highly. He's got losses in 4 of his last 6, though. Definitely a concern. A couple knockouts in there as well. He has not faced quite the Dean Truman level of competition, I'll be honest. A little bit of an overstatement, but he's starting to catch up there. He's a scrapper. He's willing to trade on the feet, but he wants to get it down and get on top and work the wrestling and grappling here. Taking on Adam Shelley, him and his brother pretty similar. Both primarily kickboxers. They do have weaknesses in the wrestling and grappling. He did win his last fight in Adam. Started out his career with a loss by submission. Rebounded at the end of the year against the 3-0 Danielle Scapoluzzi, Italian fighter. Daniel looked okay. But Ryan just looked such a physical advantage on him that it didn't. Well, it was a 3-0 opponent. I'm not sure exactly yet how good Adam is. I'm a little bit concerned here. I think that Stephen Hooper can, possibly crowd him. I'm gonna go with the Shelley connection here. I think that Adam does take this one. I'm less confident in this one than I am in Ryan Shelley, which is interesting because Adam is a bigger favorite. But yeah, give me Adam by decision. I think Hooper's tough. I think that this one's going to 15, and I think it could be close.
I think because it's going to 15 and he's tough, I think Stephen could take this one. Yeah. I think there's a real underdog shot here that people look past. They see the record. I really like Hooper in this. I think he's got much better grappling. I think he's got a good gas tank. I think he's been there. He can take a shot. It's just like he doesn't do anything brilliantly, but he does all the fundamentals really well. Mm-hmm. And I think Adam Shelley's really good at one thing, and then he's got a lot of holes. If he can implement that one thing, that one trick pony of that right hand, tee him up, cut the angle, smack him about. It could, it's an easy victory for Adam Shelley. I just think Stephen's a little too clever for that. I'm going to go with Stephen Hooper. I like that he's an underdog as well. Puts a dog on my radar. So, it's a tough one though. I'm not surprised Adam's the favorite, but I thought it'd be closer.
Yeah, minus 180. Adam is plus 150 on Hooper. Just for comparison to Ryan, who has more experience and is facing a guy with less experience, minus 165. So they seem to believe in Adam here, and they seem to believe the power and the striking is going to be the difference and end up putting Hooper away. I can't imagine Adam would be favored if this goes to 15 minutes. So I think for Hooper, it's about, spreading that gas tank, extending the less experienced 1-1 Adam Shelley. So I think it could be a spot for an underdog. I'm not going to be hammering it, but I will go with Adam Shelley. Next fight is also at 170. This is another very good fight, in my opinion, between Kieran Lister and taking on James Sheehan. This should be, again, a really good fight, and it's at 170. I like that they're really developing this 170 division more and more. I think these guys are very match up very well. They're very similar types of opponent. James Sheehan now 3-2 for the Irishman, very well rounded. Last fought in October with Cage Warriors. He won. He went to 2 straight fights. Started out his career 1-2. But you look, it's Ian Gary he took on in his 3rd fight. Ian Gary's debut. Then he took on some 0-2 guy named Matthew Bonner for his debut. I mean, and went to a decision, by the way, with both these guys. James Sheehan really looked better than I think most did in Ian Gary's Cage Warriors career. Maybe that was because Ian Gary was making his debut there. And then Matthew Bonner, I mean, that's 2 very, very highly respected losses there. You see the wins, and he gets those rear naked chokes. He had a very close fight with Emil Brown that we talked about earlier here. Where, again, he's just very well-rounded. He can trade on the feet. He can trade on the ground. He can scramble. So can Carroll. I mean, these guys are – I think this is one of the closest matchups of the night, personally, just because of how these guys match up. I mean, the split over Emil Brown. Emil Brown was undefeated at the time. Very good win. Emil Brown's going to keep it close with everybody. Like a very physical opponent. And I think Carroll is a little less physical, but he has more of a technical grappling style to him and a very good frame for the division at 6'2". He's going to have the reach advantage as well in this one. On the ground, he throws good elbows, finished a really physical opponent in Steven Mendes Furtado, who I get was making his debut. But still, handled the physicality of his opponent really well and just looked to out-technique him and did so. Hasn't faced anybody of note really yet in his career. That is my concern. But his groundwork looks legit. I think this is going to be a really good competitive fight. I'm edging ever so slightly towards Carroll here. It is his Cage Warriors debut here. And I know that James is going to come into this fight with a lot of hype. His only losses are to top level of competition. And from what I've seen of Carroll, I really like what I've seen so far, both amateur and pro. I think that his last fight out looked really good, but he is taking a step up here. He's going to be the underdog, but I'm going to edge towards Carroll here. I think Carroll ends up wearing down James and, maybe reversing some of the grappling as this fight goes. Like James is going to look to grapple in this fight. I think Carroll's comfortable with that. Carroll's comfortable being on his back at times, and I think Carroll has the better gas tank as this fight goes. So I'm going to take Carroll.
Okay. No. I'm the other way completely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think James is going to mess him up. I think Sheehan is his little coming out party, I think, for Cage Warriors. This is the tide where suddenly his record doesn't look as lame. James is so damn good, man. Technically, he's brilliant everywhere. He's a complete mixed martial artist. He's getting the experience early on. He's had the hiccups. He's never been outclassed. The split decision is absolute nonsense. You clearly won. I hate it when judges are like, Stevie Wonder for a night. But from what I've seen, I don't see the opponents he's faced are not James Sheehan level. And it's hard to get someone that's James Sheehan's level without having 10 fights, in my opinion. I think there's a reason there's a lot of hype behind him. He's got a brilliant frame for the weight class. He's physically strong. He's got great grappling. He's got great hands, moves well. He's got a gas tank that never looks tired after 15 minutes. I think it's a really tough fight for Carroll here. I haven't seen anything that makes me go, yeah, he can win this fight over the distance technically at all. So for me, it's James. I'm going to say by decision. I think it'll be a 30-27, like clean cut straight through him.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, maybe that is definitely a good point. Carroll is not facing that level. And yeah, I think that it's interesting. It's minus 210 for James, so he's not a huge favorite. So
some people are definitely seeing what you've seen, 100%.
Yeah. So it will be, interesting. I'm going to be interested to see these guys facing off and how it looks from that perspective here. But yeah, it could be an interesting fight for Carroll now fighting out of the Netherlands. James should have the crowd on his side, though.
The Netherlands? That's Poland, sir.
Oh, no, he's fighting out of the Netherlands. He's Polish, but he's fighting out of the Netherlands now.
What? Why?
I'm guessing he's working on his kickboxing.
Yeah, that's all he's doing. He's like, crap, I got.
He's like, I got to learn how to strike. I can't just grapple. I'm 6'2". Let me use this frame.
Yeah, you're right.
I know. Once in a while, I know what I'm talking about.
So bizarre. You see, he's going to face it. He's going to face a grappler next to fight out of Rio.
Yeah, exactly. He's just going to travel around. But next fight is our first catchweight of the night. Paul McBain taking on Federico Pasquale here. This fight is an interesting one. Another undefeated Italian coming in here, and Federico Pasquale taking on Paul McBain, the locomotive. This guy just wants to go in there and bang, put on performances. He really is an exciting fighter, 7-2 overall for the Scottish fighter. Good size at 6 foot. Usually fights at featherweight. Again, it's got a couple losses, but to Aiden Lee and to James Hendon, no shame there at all. Got rear naked choked in both of those fights. Came back against Conman Day and put him away in the second round after just, really just offensive kind of onslaught the whole fight. He's really aggressive, forward moving. He wants to go in there and put on a show. I give McBain credit for that quite a bit. With Pasquale, another unknown Italian fighter. He's 6-0. By the way, McBain had a win over Steve Amable back in 2018. That's aged very well. But yeah, Federico here, 9 straight, going back to his amateur career. Trains out of Mat Side Jiu-Jitsu in Livorno. Had some wins in Venator, which is a decent Italian promotion. They don't always put their stuff online, though. So, again, finished 6 of his 7 wins. A couple by KOs, but likes to get the submission. Took the back in his last fight. Rear naked choke and arm triangle. So, mostly a wrestler here. He's going to want to make this a boring fight. He's going to want to make McBain unexciting and on his back. And if McBain can avoid that, McBain's going to pour it on him. It's one or the other. I think it's going to be, whoever gets their game started is, I think, going to keep their game start. If Paul gets his game started early, I think it's going to be downhill for Federico in a bad way throughout. Paul's going to probably put it on him and put him away. If Federico gets the takedowns, I definitely can see Federico taking around, and then I think Paul's relentless, man. He's really big, and at 150, I think the advantage is for Paul here at the catch weight. I think it's going to allow him to push a little harder. I like Paul McBain in this one. Puts him away somewhere inside the first 2 rounds. Give me Paul.
Oh yeah, we're going for Scotland in this. Yeah, I mean the Scottish. Yeah, McBain is mad. He's fought everybody that's not a champion in that weight class essentially. Steve Aimable, you get a win over Steve Aimable, you are ready for a title shot in my head. Diddy Kong is so damn good. Federico hasn't fought anybody.
Right.
If you all 9 fights, he's fought people who have a total of like 4 wins across the entire 9.
Yep.
Almost making their debut. He's had his way with people. He's just physically fit and he can wrestle. I think he's going to get exposed big time. I think he's going to struggle to take Paul down. And when he doesn't, Paul's going to light him up on the feet and finish him early. I think a first round win for Paul here. I think Paul McBain is so damn good.
Yeah,
just Aiden Lee is not a problem. Like,
and he's one of those guys who's going to have the entire crowd behind him. Oh, it doesn't matter 100%. If it's not a Scottish crowd. I mean, he is just one of those guys that it's like you're a UK fighter.
Well, you've got crowds in Cage War. It's probably like LFA as well, where you've got individuals, say from Scotland, but they're fighting in the UK. So you've got the Scottish coming down, and then you've got the Cage Warriors people like myself that tour the country. Going to
Paul's going to be in Cage Warriors his whole career,
and so Cage Warriors guys go. It's Paul's back, so the Cage Warriors crew they all go crazy as well. He's going to have so much support. The Italians are going to get booed the piss out of. I tell you.
Yeah, Paul McBain minus 260 plus 200 on Federico, the undefeated Italian. I mean, I think that is understandable. I'll be parlaying Paul myself.
Yeah.
Next fight on the card, we're back to a bantamweight here, and we've got a guy who I know that I really like, and I believe you do as well. Liam Giddens taking on Edward Walls. I like both these guys, honestly. I got no problem with Edward Walls. He brings it, man, and he's gonna be an apple pie shitter one of these days. Again, I feel like it could be tonight. It could be this fight, honestly. Liam Giddens, though, 7-4 now for the Nightmare. I mean, what you see is what you get. He's not the most physically gifted guy, but he is tenacious. He comes forward. He's been on a tough run the last couple, though. The fight with Gerardo Fanny, it was hard to see, man. He came into that fight so confident, and I remember I was quite confident in him, and then all of a sudden, halfway through that second round, you just saw the mouth open and the chest cave in. And, I mean, he got put away with knees and strikes, but it was cardio. It was just cardio. He just had no gas left. And Gerardo was landing some strikes on him, too. Can we get a more current picture? I mean, there's not, like, impressive pictures of Liam Giddens, though. He doesn't photograph well. That's just part of, it's just, that's not what you signed.
Yeah, but that's a picture when he was like 16.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough run the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The Josh Reed fight I really thought was a turnaround for him. I was like, okay, tough veteran here, gets the triangle finish, looked really poised, and then gets knocked out by Brian Bouland in 52 seconds. Brian Bouland, not a bad fighter at all. Then rebounds against an Emrah Sonmez, who I think we've kind of realized not a great fighter, but he had a good record at the time, 11-3. So we're like,
if you look at everyone's record, this is the difference of his. Look at Federico Pasquale, like we just saw, 6-0 fight.
He's testing himself. I mean, Adam Amasinger scene.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Amasinger is a ridiculously good striker for the weight class.
We know. So I mean, wins over guys like Josh Reed, Adam, even the Emre Sonmez, in the losses to guys like Kingsley Crawford, going to a decision with Kingsley. But again, it wasn't a competitive decision. Kingsley just, once you get a lead on Liam Giddens, Liam has trouble catching up, man. He's a bit of a front runner. And I think a guy like Edward Walls is a guy who's, going to have points that I think is going to surprise you. I don't know, man. I got a feeling about this fight. I think that physically gifted fighters give Liam problems routinely from what I've seen. Edward Walls is very physically gifted. And he's not again 10-7, but 10-7 that it makes a little more sense when you look at it. He is coming off 2 straight losses himself, though. So both these guys, but his losses to Steve Amiable and Aiden Steven. But the Aiden Steven fight was incredibly competitive. That was a really good fight. I picked Edward Wall in that fight as well. I remember. But, again, he's facing, good levels of competition. The losses are to high levels like Dennis Silva, by split, Alexander Rubino by split. I mean, these are close fights. He's not being finished in these fights. I have questions about Liam's gas tank that it's hard to forgive, looking at here. I'm going with Edward Walls to spring the upset here, take 2 or 3 rounds. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think this has potential, for a fight of the night. I think these guys are evenly matched, and I'm just fading Giddens at this point. I'm out.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick against Liam because I love him so much. I can completely see.
Yeah.
This should be a pick and fight. What weight class is this actually at, though?
This is at 100 and I'm pretty sure it's at bantamweight. Yeah, bantamweight.
Bantamweight. Okay, yeah.
So Edward is going to
be he's in a cut of his life here because he's a big boy. He's normally a featherweight, and I know Liam fought Adam Amasinghe at flyweight,
and he fought Gerardo at 130.
Yeah, I mean the level of competition Liam has fought is much higher than Edward Walls has fought. But Edward Walls has looked better in his losses. It's a real tough fight. I'm gonna back Liam. We talk about him enough that when he comes around, I can't go against him.
That's fair.
So I think he's got absolutely great jiu-jitsu off his back. I think he's got really slick hands. I think he pushes a really good pace. It's just when he gets overconfident, he oversteps, and he can get caught. I'm banking that he's learned from the lessons. I think he's going to put a pace on Edward that actually might wear him down. And I think it's going to be highly competitive, and it's going to be 2 rounds to 1 for someone.
I agree.
I do not. I'm staying away from this fight with a betting perspective for sure. But
I mean, I'll take a slight shot on Edward. I'll take a slight shot at Edward at plus 150. I think it's worth the.
If you're going to bet it, I would bet Walls. Yeah.
But minus 180 on Giddens. I mean, there's a fight or two ago where I would have taken that, but now I'm a little bit off of the Leon Giddens bandwagon right now.
Just takes one shot to rock his whole game. It doesn't even have to be a hard shot. Just something to demotivate his stride, as it were.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, and Darren Stewart is still on the card. This fight has been coming in and out of the card. So this is one that I'm not sure if they've had trouble with his opponent or what the deal is here, but we are going to be seeing a Darren Stewart as of now.
It's a new opponent, that's why.
Okay, it is a new opponent. In Carlos de Souza, which, I mean, plain and simple, they wanted to find a body for Darren Stewart. I'm not going to go much into this fight. I do think that his opponent I'm finding is nearly 45 years old. He's 5'9". He's from Brazil. 17-11. I think that they just found a body for Darren Stewart. The price on Darren Stewart is minus 1,000 currently. This guy has fought recently, so he fought in October of last year where he got Bravo choked. Lost his fight before that as wins over nobody I've ever heard of. A lot of losses by KO. Faced most of his career happening in 2014 to 2016. Came back from a 5-year layoff to get Bravo choked inside of a round. I mean, Darren Stewart. He better put on a show.
Yeah. I mean, Darren, see, anyone that has an issue with Darren, it annoys me because the guy got into the UFC after training MMA for 2 years and not knowing any jiu-jitsu, essentially. Yep. And then he got put against, was it Barroso a couple times? Lost both of them, essentially. Cole Roberson choked him out. Julian Marquez choked him out, and then they were about to cut him, and he stepped in on short notice against Eric Splicely, and that saved him.
He beat Kevin Holland too. I don't care what anybody says.
I agree. You can't win that. You cannot lose that fight after 3 minutes of sitting on top of someone, smashing them to bits, and shouting at their face.
Yep.
Charles Bird win he had, Bevan Lewis when Bevan Lewis was relevant. I know you like to say, but he's
saying Souza has COVID. So is this fight still on? I feel like they took
COVID, it won't be on because it was meant to be Romming, and then
I mean, honestly, we've got so many fights to cover. Darren Stewart's gonna kill him if this fight's on. If it's not, then let's save our time.
Yeah.
All right. I hate to do that to Darren. I just want him to have a better opponent before we're talking about him. This will be at 185.
To be honest, whoever middleweight, other than the champion right now, unless you've got Milan or Leroy Duncan against Darren, it's not going to be competitive. It's not.
Okay, it is off. All right, thanks. Yeah, that's what I thought. Ooh. That's what I thought. So my bad. Got a little time to talk about Darren Stewart. He was lovely. I met him in Boston after their fight. So
get him a fucking fight. He's been waiting for so long, and he's in ridiculous shape.
Well, they tried, but we're to the main event here. Daniel Skibinski taking on Justin Burleson. The 6-1 Justin Burleson making his return from an unsuccessful Dana White Contender Series shot, where I picked one of my biggest underdogs on the Contender Series of last season, and Giannis Lacanese, the White Lion, as he's known, was a huge underdog against Justin Burleson and came out and absolutely smoked him with that right hook. That was in November, though, so there's been a decent amount of time off. Johan Lioness was who took that. Looking forward to seeing Johan back in there very soon. But, I mean, before that, Burleson had earned his way with Bellator wins as well as Cage Warriors wins. Had a knockout of 9-1 David Bear. That was really impressive back in June of last year. Looked good with Bellator and his fight there, Bama as well. So he's been in the best of the best organizations as a pro, as an amateur, incredibly successful amateur career. One loss to Adam Proctor, who we know is a very legitimate prospect himself. I mean, Justin Burleson came back. He actually took a grappling competition only a couple weeks after the Johan KO loss. So as bad as that loss was, pretty impressive for Justin to come back there. I'm going to be interested to see how he responds to the loss here, but nothing leads me to believe he's not going to be able to respond with success here. He's a really confident, long striker. He's working on the rest of his game. I like he's taking some grappling here. I mean, and this is Daniel Skibinski, Skiba, 31 years old here, 5'11", going to have a significant reach disadvantage with only a 71-inch reach versus the nearly 80-inch reach of Burleson. Lost his last fight back in October with UAE to an 11-1 opponent, got knocked out in under a minute. So, I mean, he had to win over a 16-2 opponent, ground and pounded him out. I mean, he's, been fighting for quite a while here, went on a good run after some losses early on, lost to Ismail Nardiv by knees back in 2016. So it does seem when he takes the step up, he does have the kind of a pattern of kind of folding to strikes. Burleson, obviously a very good striker here. I think that Skibinski, has a grappler, ground and pound puncher's chance type of thing. But, I do like that he's got good experience as well. But I really like Burleson here. I think he makes a good rebound here. He's not shown any lapses in his grappling yet or wrestling, which is, I think, where Skibinski is going to have to, fill in the holes. If this is on the feet, I could see a quick finish for Burleson, though. So, he's finished much better. Guys has a good gas tank, and I think size-wise is going to have a significant advantage at 170 here. He's huge, massive. So I like Burleson here. I like him to get the TKO.
Yeah, I think if Daniel Skibinski here is to win this fight, he needs to grapple. If he decides to stand and trade with Justin, I think it's going to be a very quick night. I think technically in the power shots, especially off his backhand, He does a good check left hook, Justin. He sits people down real easy with it. Inside leg kicks, drawing out that lead hand, dropping it over the top with the right. It's just simple stuff from a kickboxing point of view. And Daniel has a real hard time with his hands. He has a lot of knockouts from just being heavy-handed. Nothing technical, just power shots and the level of competition. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think Justin should TKO him, no problem. But again, it's a testy because if he can't get the win within the first, if he can't knock him out within 5 minutes, Daniel can turn the tide, and he could if it just takes one takedown and Justin to be a little bit gassed, and he's going to lay on him for an entire round, and suddenly it's 1-1. It gets really interesting going into that third. It is five rounds, and I don't like that for either guy personally. So I think it's going to be a quick finish. I think they're just going to blow their wad straight away. Yeah, I'm with you, Justin, by TKO. Round 1. Let's go round 1 as well. Highlight finish.
Yeah, the odds are super close here. -145 on Burleson, +115 on Skibinski. It's one of the most closely lined fights of the night. A little bit surprised there, but you seem to be a little bit less so. It will be interesting to see how Burleson responds to his first loss since very early in his career. Last time he lost, he went on a 14-15 fight win streak. So choosing to fight because they're a Brit and you're a Brit is so silly and not helpful. Okay. Well, I can't change where he is and where he makes his picks from, my friend, but solid comment there, Trace. We'll look for your breakdown. Sorry, I'll get a Martian to break down the fights next time to make sure that it's unbiased. Because I am from Earth as well. So, but yeah, sorry if Lewis isn't helpful enough for you. Thanks for watching though. But we'll move on to the next card here, I should say. That's the end of 135 for Friday night. Friday afternoon for us here in the States, Friday night over there for you. We return on the 2nd, April 2nd. That is Saturday night for another Cage Warriors event here. And should be pretty exciting. Good weekend on Fight Pass. Also have the PFL Challenger Series coming up as well. So definitely check out all that. 136 headline by the middleweight championship of the world, Milan versus Duncan. We'll get to all of those as we go, but here we go. We got another 13 fights? Yeah, another 13 fights to go through here. Let's keep it going. And we're going to start at the featherweight division here with a fight between Ben Reese and Liam Malloy here. I've liked what I've seen out of these guys, particularly Liam. Here, this is at 145 to start out the second card on Saturday, though. And here we go. Ben Reese is coming into this fight at 3-4 for the 28-year-old of Lions Den MMA, taking on the 2-2 next generation product and Liam Malloy. I'll be breaking down first here. Very confident young fighter here. He did come off a loss with Cage Warriors back in September. Definitely has faced a good level of competition early on in his career. His losses coming to Ryan Shelley and Manny Akban. Just a good level of competition. Hasn't been a great level of competition, but did KO both those guys and Craig Skelton and David Adams. The Manny Akban fight was exciting while it lasted, and then he got triangle choked by Manny. Pretty impressive response there by Manny. And then also, the loss with Ryan Shelley. Ryan Shelley was just, looked like the length just really got to him. And honestly, Liam just overextended on a takedown, got his back taken and submitted. We're kind of seeing how Ryan's developing here. Good amateur career as well for Liam, going 7-1 as an amateur. He's well-rounded here. I think that he's got a really good chance here to get back on the right track here. Ben Reese, 3-4. His nickname is Flubber, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he's been off since 2019. He won his last fight with an arm injury. It was over a 23-12 opponent, Paul Reed. That Venture fight with Cage Warriors was pretty telling to me. Ben got his bag taken rather quickly and put to sleep with a rear naked choke. The Josh Reed fight, again, when the level has stepped up, he's had a lot of trouble. He does have a few fights with Cage Warriors, but I really think Liam is going to put it on him and put him away with a submission here. So I like Liam Malloy quite a bit in this one. Next gen, going to have a good amount of fighters on these two cards. I think they get the second night started out right. Liam by submission.
Submission was exactly what I've got written down here anyway. Ben Reese, yeah, he fought some good levels of competition. Ed Arthur's that's a horrible fight to get on your debut. I know it was Ed Arthur's second fight, but that's a horrible fight to get. He's very technically gifted for someone that was making the start in his career. Ben Reese has a lot of good attributes, but yeah, I think Liam Molly's got more than enough to beat him. The amateur record is super impressive to me.
Yep.
And again, when a lot of these guys are making their, third, fourth appearance, I still look at the amateurs and just see how they developed. And it's super important because amateurs, these guys meet again in the professionals. So a lot of the times they're basically like pro records anyway. It's just a different life. You've got a second chance to get that. Keep it for a little bit longer. So I also like Liam here. I think submission is nice. I like that bet. I'd go by decision personally.
Okay.
I think he's just going to wear on him, outlast him, get a nice clinical win. But again, Ben Reese ain't not a walkabout. He's a tough dude, but I just don't think he's got enough technicality to beat someone like Liam.
Yep. And this Liam's going to have the size advantage here, being the traditional featherweight as well. And both these guys are English, so very biased pick here by Lewis.
Who were they upset that I picked?
I don't know.
Was it because I didn't pick the Polish guy?
Yeah, you didn't pick Skibinski over Burleson.
It wasn't because I talked about how clinical the striking is.
No.
It was because he said Brit. Brit isn't just English, so that's four countries.
Yeah, well, but Americans, we think that's just English. We don't understand what British mean. When we say British, we mean what it's supposed to mean. We don't care about technical.
Then Trace Williams is ignorant. Yes.
Trace, our boy.
So you got someone clever in there talking how it is an English promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, so many English.
He's like trying to explain. Yeah, but we'll move on to the next fight here. This is at 170 or 135. Sorry, 135. Reese Mcewen. Gonna let you guess where he's from with that name, taking on Sam Smooth Spencer here, 3-1 Reese Mcewen, fun guy to watch, taking on the 6-2 Sam Spencer out of Manchester, England. So we got Scotland versus England here.
Two Brits.
Yep, two Brits. So you're going to be biased again. 28-year-old Smooth Sam Spencer coming off a win back in May of 2019, however, with FCC. Well, let me be me. Over Ryan Holdham, got the knockout there pretty quickly, pretty impressive overhand shot, and just put him to sleep with an overhand right. I kind of, confused why he's been off for a couple of years, because he looked really excited after that fight, looked in great shape. He had a tough go about it with Paul McBain. Paul McBain broke his jaw. And so, he connected with a ton of shots, and Spencer kept coming. So Spencer's so tough. The doctor's like, your jaw's shattered. You can't fight. And he was like, he wanted to keep fighting. Yeah. And sometimes you see that and you're like, I don't really buy it. But he was like legit there. So his one Cage Warriors fight, definitely an eventful one. It was back in 2017. He got the quick knockout, and then he disappeared for a couple years, unfortunately. He was supposed to fight in September and got injured. So I do believe it was injuries that's kept him out the last couple of years. But guy's really confident. He's going to come into this fight, I think, really excited. Going to love fighting in front of a crowd. I think it's going to be I think it's really a good fight to have early on the card here. Rhys Mcewen, the Scottish fighter. So another Scottish fighter after Paul McBain. Definitely going to be motivated, I'm sure. Coming off of a loss in November with RAC. He got lost to Luke Westwood by a really slick armbar. Luke Westwood looks so good, man. Luke Westwood is definitely a prospect to watch. He is a Brit, so warning to Trace out there. But those two look like they could definitely see each other again later on. Rhys Mckeown looks like he's in really good shape. He looks to be very, very talented. Just got a little humbled there. And, his first 3 fights were also against 2-2, 6-11, and 0-3. He has gotten finished in 2 of the fights by submission, the other one with ground and pound. I think that Reese Mcewen, is not going to want to get in there and trade with Spencer in the phone booth. Like, Spencer throws looping hooks, wild shots, has the power. I think that Reese looks to get him down, ground him, and use his skills here. I just can't back Sam Spencer after 2 years off, the injuries and everything like that. But it surprise me if Sam comes out here and kind of overwhelms and shocks Reese? No, because I'm not sure if Reese is as good as I've rated him yet based on the competition. When he took that step up against Westwood, he was looking really good until the armbar was caught. Like, he was dominating the grappling until then. It was a really slick angle on the armbar and everything. And again, Westwood's really good. I think he's better than Spencer. I would take Westwood over Spencer too. I'm going to take Reese in this spot, but Sam's a wild man. He's a wild man. So Reese is going to have to be ready for a war, I think, in this one. So it makes me nervous, but I'm going to take Reese.
Yeah, I've got this as like maybe a fight of the night already.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good matchup as well. So Sam has been in there and he's taken it to people like McBain. Like,
right.
That needs to be addressed. They're both in a very good spot in their age. They're both physically very similar. I think this is perfect matchmaking. Reese Mcewen has been dead impressive.
Yes.
But the competition level, other than Westwood, is questionable.
Right.
And then it approaches that time of going, okay, is he that good, or is it just he's against people that are
you can get away with this? Right.
Exactly that. When he tries to push his own pace and dictate his own game upon Sam Spencer, and if Sam's that Dean Truman brick wall and says no, does Reese then crumble? And then you see these guys that looked electrifying, and then they just suddenly turn into mush. So for me, I'm going to go with Smooth.
Okay.
I think he's going to come back, and there's a reason he's coming back. He's
still young, Manchester. 28 years old.
Yeah, man. He's from Manchester. He's going to get a great reception.
He's probably going to sprint out to the crowd. His walkout is definitely going to be a sprint out.
Yeah. You could totally see that. I would not be shocked if Rhys Mckeown tooled him up, though. I think it's either going to be Rhys Mckeown runs through him, or it's going to be a war and Sam's going to edge it. That's the way I'm looking at it, because Sam's not going to win someone. Like, you'd be silly to strike with Sam when he's susceptible on the ground. So,
right.
I think Reese has a good game. Will have a good game plan. I think Sam is just going to go in there and enjoy himself and enjoy the night, because that seems to be how he fights his whole career. And I'm banking that. I'm banking that he does well. But again, sorry for being biased to pick the Englishman over the Scot.
Yeah, you didn't pick the Scot.
No.
Plus 160 on Sam Smooth Spencer, which is funny because he doesn't fight smooth. I think it's an ironic nickname.
Yeah, it should be wild man, like you said.
Yeah, or like rigid, just like, but it's effective. Rigid but effective. But yeah, I mean, what a start to the card here, because our next fight at 145 is another fight. I think this could definitely be on the main card. I think it's a really interesting fight. Always tough to read Tom Mearns fights, at least for me. Taking on Manny Akpan here. This is talk about a clash of styles here. Manny is flash, style, just movement, and Tom Mearns is kinetic force, forward, boxed in, rudimentary, and
Darren Elkins.
Gets it done sometimes, doesn't get it done a lot of times also, but never says no to a fight. 8-7 versus 3-1. Manny out of SBG Manchester. This is a really interesting fight here. Manny has been super exciting throughout his career, coming off a loss last June to Kieran Harvey, who we talked about a little while ago. Kieran came in there and he overwhelmed with the wrestling, got into an arm triangle position and finished the fight. Tom could do that, but Tom doesn't have the physical skills of Kieran Harvey. So that's one thing. I mean, Tom is as undersized gets. No matter what division Tom's in, he always looks undersized for the division. It's really bizarre. But, I mean, he gets it done. The Ben Ellis win was it ages extremely well for Manny. After we saw how Ben Ellis looked that last time out, we should have edged with Ben Ellis.
It's Nick Bagley. Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking that, and then I went with Nick Bagley. So I was wrong there. But yeah, I mean, the Liam Malloy fight got the triangle finish there. I mean, he's faced very impressive opponents early on in his career. Manny, very exciting. All his fights have been with Cage Warriors as a pro, as an amateur. Losses to guys like Jordan Barton, Aiden James. So he did get that experience. Fought these guys pretty close for the most part. I mean, Tom Mearns, he's going to get in there. He's going to shoot for a single, try to connect that to a double leg takedown, get you down, get you into full mount, get you into an arm triangle position where you can hold it or go for the arm triangle finish. You know, I can't doubt Tom Mearns here, man. I just can't. I think that Manny does have some issues on the ground that Kiera Harvey was able to exploit. I think Tom Mearns is going to be able to exploit these in the later rounds. I'm curious to see how the movement and how the cardio holds up for Manny as he kind of has a grinding style through the 15 minutes. I think Mearns grinds him down and wins this one. Possibly even gets, we'll see. Can he get that arm triangle? Because I think he might. But I got Tom Mearns moving to a nice 9-7 here and getting a decision win.
I think Tom Mearns is a lot worse than you make out.
Okay, that's fair. I have a lot of I'll say it real quick. I have a lot of PTSD from picking Tom Mearns fights wrong. So maybe I'm being
good luck picking a correct Tom Mearns fight. It's very difficult. I thought he lost both of his last two. Well.
I did too. I picked Ndoye very confidently in that fight.
I thought Ndoye and Wardy both beat him as well. I disagree with the decisions.
That might be what I'm responding to here.
Maybe. I think he's got absolutely smashed by people like Jeremy Petley. Jeremy Petley fighting out of London Fight Factory just destroyed him. Steve Amable knocked him clean out. When did Steve Amable knock you out?
Yep.
It just doesn't happen. Like Manny is so technically brilliant. He's like a breath of fresh air to the division, to be honest, for me. I think he's very good. He's the future of it. And again, what he did to Ben Ellis is very, very impressive. When Ben Ellis has very, extremely good in the pocket boxing, phone booth boxing.
Really good wrestler too. Really, all right, I'm switching to Manny. Never mind. I'll switch to Manny.
I think Manny is the smart pick. I think if you go Mearns here, and he wins, like the Sod's Law is gonna
I'll look so smart if he wins though. If Mearns wins, I'll look so. No. Yeah. I don't know. I have a terrible read on Tom Mearns. I was so confident in Ndoye. I was so confident.
Do you bet Darren Elkins when he fought Mirsad Bektik?
No, of course not.
No, but he still wins, and that's what Tom could do.
Right.
He's that guy. He is like the Cage Warriors.
If he gets an arm triangle here of Manny Akbon and I didn't bet on it, I'm going to fucking shrivel.
I don't think he will. I think every time you see Manny, even in the Kier fight, he didn't look out of shape. He didn't look out of contest.
He just got
exploited. He got exploited when he didn't know what to do on the ground.
That's where Tom's going to go.
I don't think he'll get there.
Okay.
I don't think you know what I mean.
I hope not.
Fuck it, yeah. Bet Tom Mearns, everyone.
Dude, here's the crazy part: is the odds are even close. The odds makers don't know what to do with Tom Mearns anymore.
He's got a lot of fights, got a lot of experience, but in my opinion, he's lost the last 7 fucking fights in a row. So,
and the Czar, what book do you use, man? Because they will be available on Bovada and a few others, but. Yeah, plus 105 on Tom Mearns right now, minus 135 on Manny Akbon. Manny is a very slight favorite here. The odds makers don't know what to do with Tom either. I agree, the Ndoye fight, Ndoye won. But I had so much bet on Ndoye that I guess I'm biased. I don't know. But
I thought Wardy won as well.
Yeah, and those are at 155 also. This is Tom. There is definitely a universe where Tom shits in the apple pie of Manny Akbon here. But, I'll go with Manny. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull a bet on this one, though.
Don't let me sway you. You want to go Tom, you go Tom.
No, I don't know what to do.
So clever. You're going to look so clever.
I just want to look clever. That's all I shoot for in my life, is to look clever. But move on to the next fight here. This is at 185. Michael Chimo taking on Piotr Chmielewski. Let's go with So Michael Chimo. The Jaguar came into Cage Warriors with such a buzz about him. People whispering, "This guy's a freak. This guy's a monster. He's a beast. He's like this legend. Oh my God, wait till he comes in here." And he had a really fun first fight. I'll give him this. You see on his Tapology, it says, I will be champion. Not sure about that one. But had a fight with Samir Khadi, a 3-1 opponent, where Samir was just like laying it on Chimo till the end of the round. Then Chimo got up and landed some strikes, nearly put him away. But you could see Chimo's gas was gone. So was Khadi's. Both guys were gassed after one round. It was a war of a first round, though. And it was really, it was impressive. He fought through quite a bit of adversity there. Had the knockout in his debut. Michael Chimo has the judo background. You'll see the Horuuchi throw. He has one of those fight though, because it's just what these jacked judoku guys have. They're like, we can do it one time. After that, it's going to exhaust us. And if we don't get the finish after that, we really need help. And then appreciated the Tsar. If he wants to leave, he can take off though. But yeah, Chimo, very hard hitting judoka guy, basically like a Dolce champion of Cage Warriors in a lot of ways. Just a very physically able guy. At least he's fighting at 185 though. Piotr Chmielewski here, 37 years old for the Hitman, 6'2". He's going to be the taller guy. Coming in off 2 straight losses, and he has not fought in MMA since 2019. Definite concerns there. Got KO'd in a minute 21 by a Janos Suzukas, who is now 5-0 as a pro, so maybe that's going to end up being a great fight. Great win. Who knows? We'll see Janos as things continue. But definitely don't like to see the inactivity. He hasn't faced a tremendous level of competition here. He has a good amateur record, which is really good. Went undefeated as an amateur, 11-0 as an amateur. He has finishes in all of his wins, but they're over very low levels of competition. 0-18s, 3-17s in there. Lost to a 9-7 guy by rear naked choke. I think that with Chimo, you want to, spread him, want to get him into the later parts of this fight. But Piotr also gets fights done pretty early. I think this is going to be a car wreck, similar to the Khadi fight. Chimo, I'll take to get the finish. He was close against Khadi, who Khadi looks like he could be all right. I'm curious to see Khadi as he moves on in his career as well. But looks like a kind of a little bit of a diamond in the rough that Cage Warriors might have found when they thought Chimo was being, the one showcase. But I'll take Chimo here. Hopefully, he gets a finish inside the first round.
Yeah, this is a complete pick 'em. I think car crash or car wreck, what you said, is the perfect description for this fight. I think I'm gonna be European biased now. It's not Brits, and I'm gonna pick Piotr in this based on that crazy record of amateur and pro. Other than 1 or 1.5, it was an exhibition MMA. Might not take it seriously, but other than that blemish.
And he was 5-0. The guy who he lost to is 5-0.
Yeah, his experience at the end of the day, he's got a lot of experience, and Michael has none.
Yeah,
he had one amateur fight against a guy that didn't know what he was doing.
The whispers, though,
it's all whispers, and then you saw that Khadi fight, and he just looked bang average. The whispers.
He almost got him at the end of the first. First.
I think there were Chinese whispers, so by the end of them, you didn't know what. Something completely different was whispered. I'm going to back Piotr. I'm going to say it's a car crash, and one person's just going to get clipped. It's going to be nothing more than that.
Cool. Minus 145 on Chimo, plus 115 on Piotr. You got the slight dog there. Hopefully, this one doesn't go longer than 5 minutes, because otherwise, we're going to have. I think some problems on our hands here.
Can have the inhaler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got the back-to-back middleweight fights coming up here. Next fight here, we got France versus England in Alexis Fonte taking on Mick Stanton here. So it should be an interesting one. Fontes, I have been able to watch most of his fights. They were available, which I always appreciate. Mick Stanton, a little more familiar with the English vet here. Cage Warriors regular for a long time now. Definitely a scrapper for the Huntington Hammer. Maybe I said that wrong, but I'll let you talk about that in a minute. 7-6 though for Mick here. Salty. Got a win in his last fight. Fights out of Alherton Submission Wrestling. Got the win over a really impressive Irishman and George Smith. It's a really good fight. Back and forth. Both guys had their moments. It was highly competitive. And Mick just kind of, made a pretty big statement in that one. The ground and pound to end the fight was really impressive. He was coming off of 3 straight losses on top of that, which, the losses were the James Webb, Aaron Khalid, and Medeiros Flaminis. Flaminis is another one of these guys who he's taken on such a who's who in Cage Warriors, and he's really surprised people a lot. So I don't think that's
champion as well. Yeah.
Yep. I don't think that's Webb, a former champ as well. A lot of grappling competitions as well. A loss to Jonas Bildenstein, even not bad back in the day. I mean, he's faced a really good amount of opponents in Cage Warriors. I think this is, right around the level that is the level that beats him or he can beat. Honestly, it's just with Fontes, this is going to be, I think, one of his toughest tests of his early career. Mick is as veteran as a veteran comes, but Alexis really well-rounded, good takedown game. Reminds me of Anthony Dizzy, another Frenchman. They have kind of a similar type of game plan and style to their games. And I really like Dizzy, honestly. So I mean that with respect. Lost his last fight out by KO, and it was in 2019 to Mustafa Nada, who was 6-3 at the time. Prior to that, gets the fight to the ground and gets the submissions, most of them coming in the first round. Was able to watch the Brave fight. I didn't love his reaction to the shots. Mick Stanton's going to get the shots. If Mick Stanton does get the shots, it's going to be with the ground and pound, which I do think he's got legit ground and pound, but I think Fontes has the game and has the grappling to be able to keep this fight where he needs to keep it. So I am going to go with the younger, less experienced Alexis Fontes in this spot. I do think he can get on top of Mick at points as this fight goes as well, but I think on the stand-up game, I do think Alexis has a slight edge here. And then real quick, our pal Tracy. Sorry, I'm way behind on the chat. Wasn't meant to be disrespectful. Okay, I don't know what it was meant to be then, dude. like you literally said that he was being biased and it wasn't helpful. But okay, no problem, buddy. Go ahead with your thoughts here. But I like Alexis Fontes. I think this is going to be a close competitive fight. Definitely a spot where I could see Mick pouring it on and getting a finish later in the fight. But I like Alexis Fontes in the spot. I think he's good. I think he'll be ready for this. And I do think that it's a close one though. So I'll take the dog in Fontes.
Yeah, man. I agree, to be honest. I think Fontes has the edge pretty much everywhere. Mick is the one attribute that Mick has that Fontes hasn't, kind of produced against, which is the toughness. He hasn't seen an absolute dog in someone, just not giving up, not quitting, giving every ounce of energy into every jab, every whatever. So it's a tough one though, because Mick is he's worst off everywhere. Stylistically, I think it's actually quite a tough fight for Mick in this one. I think Alexis is actually quite a clever pick. I think grappling wise, he definitely has the edge 100%. And I think he can steal around on the floor, and then Mick's going to be so wary of a takedown that he's going to get outstruck for the next round. Alexis has got he's got very good footwork, which is one thing you need to, which Mick does not have. So I think he's going to get danced around a little bit, and Alexis is going to pick him off slowly. I don't think he's going to really damage Mick, to be honest with you, but I think he's going to win decisively just from picking him apart.
Just more tactical.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this one now, even more so. Mick Stanton was a -200 favorite. He's now -185. Money has come in on Fontes plus 155.
Yeah.
Pretty surprised this line's as wide as it should be. I think it should be closer to a pick'em. I'm not saying
might be because he's a fan favorite, Mick.
Yeah.
Well liked.
Yeah, and I mean, Mick wins very impressively when he does win. Fontes has won by submission in his first 4 fights, so we haven't seen that full game completely. And Mick definitely, there's more kind of information out there on Mick that could be bad or good.
And he's fighting at Manchester as well. So, fans are there for him. Atherton, by the way, is where Tom Aspinall is from as well. It's a very small little dot in Manchester.
Yeah, fair enough. But next fight here, we're at the 170 division here. A guy I like quite a bit in Alexei Mantikivi. Sorry, I
can get my missus to do the
Alexei Mantikivi, the Finnish fighter, a guy I really do enjoy watching quite a bit here, taking on the newcomer Jean Anderson Castro here, the Brazilian. Don't see a ton of Brazilians on these Cage Warriors cards. He is fighting out of Dublin now with Nordesti Jiu-Jitsu. Alexei, a guy with a 13-7 record, but he's earned that record for sure. He's taken on a ton of very, very tough guys. He's not the biggest 170er in the world. That is definitely right away what sticks out. He's 5'9", throws a lot of leg kicks when he's going well. When he's not going well, the leg kicks seem to disappear. He's lost 2 straight fights with Cage Warriors to Mason Jones and Rhys Mckeown. Went to a decision with former Cage Warriors welterweight champion Mason Jones. Reese McKee got the finish at the end of the 3rd round in a fight where, Mantikiev was completely outgunned in that fight. And he was still there right till the end. It was a return of Reese McKee to Cage Warriors after his UFC run. Another loss coming to Jack Grant recently. And then you see the leg kick finish of a guy with 40 fights, a 9-0 fighter. He finished with strikes. The guy's a very good striker. He goes in there. He's got a knockout of Soren Bach that obviously looks very good now. And that was when he was at 155. I do think at 170 he is a little undersized, but it does allow him to kind of keep a crazy pace and, really throw the offense and, keeps good distance with the leg kicks and everything like that. Jean Anderson Castro, the Jackal, 6-5 here. Lost his last fight out in October. Nordesti Jiu-Jitsu, fought with Clan Wars, got knocked out there by a 3-1 opponent. He's a very explosive striker for the most part. Losses to guys like Pedro Carvalho, who we obviously know from Bellator, got submitted by a Sam Slater. I think you got to avoid the strikes, avoid the athleticism of John Anderson early. He slows down as the fight goes on. Mantikivi should be able to wear him down with the strikes, the leg kicks, slow him down as the fight. And I like a 2nd or 3rd round finish for my boy Alexei out of Finland.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this is a gimme fight, to be honest, for Alexei. They might be doing him a favor. I think Joe Anderson is worse everywhere by quite a distance. Alexei is a very, very good mixed martial artist. 100% he's undersized at welterweight, needs to go back down to lightweight. But I think that's just based on the fights that were available to him at the time. They said you can fight on this card, but it is at welterweight. He probably just said, I don't care. Get me on there. He's game as they come. He's very well rounded. He's got a great gas tank, and as you said, at welterweight, he pushes that pace even further, which is brilliant to see. He did really well against Mason Jones. He kind of got obliterated, I will say, against Rhys Mckeown. Reese's range and is a legit 170 guy. He's a big boy for that weight class. I just don't think I think that was a bad take from Alexei. I don't think he should have taken that fight, but very impressive because Mason Jones is a very small welterweight as well. He's a lightweight. He's only like 5'7", 5'8" himself. So frame is for lightweight. It's at welterweight. Castro's nowhere near the level of Alexei. He hasn't fought as good people. Logic just tells you Alexei should win this wherever it goes. I think it's going to be a nice win for him. I think it'll be a decision. I think he'll just beat him up for 3 rounds, nice and simple. I think If you think he's going to strike him, he's probably going to strike him. If you think he's going to grapple him, he's probably going to grapple him. And there is no telling what he'll do because he's a mixed martial artist. There's nothing he favors either, which is brilliant to see. Which is where the great wins do come from. Saw him back through, he was going to get taken down. He got clipped with the right hand and just went straight to the mat. So I've got Alexei by decision in this.
Yeah, minus 450 on Alexei, plus 350 on John Anderson. We'll move on. I'm not betting Alexei at minus 450 against anybody, to be honest. So, and not 170 particularly. So we'll move on to the next fight here. This fight is, this fight is at 155, lightweight. Yep, 155. Kieran Lister makes his return to Cage Warriors, taking on Jan Quahanganis. I don't know. I'm going to call him Jan the rest of the time here. Kieran Lister of the Dungeon BJJ. I'll be breaking down first here. 6-2-2 for the Englishman, so watch out for. Been on Bellator cards before as well. Lost 2 straight, including back in October of last year, losing to Mike Figelak. Another guy who lost to Mike Figelak, went to a decision with him. Before that, split decision, a draw with Decky McLean, which has not aged well. We kind of saw how Decky looked his last time out. And Joe McLaughlin got knocked out by him. Joe is a very solid boxer. Has a win over Tom Mearns, so there we go. That's always good to see. That was his last win, actually, in MMA. Other than that, hasn't faced a crazy level of competition. Went to a decision with Tom in that fight. Kieran, he's well-rounded, but feet is where he, gets the bread buttered for the most part. When he can keep it there, he has good success. When he's kind of pushed, pressure-wise or to kind of stretch out the game, he has trouble. Q-bomb. Jan, I will break it down now. 8-4 for the Belgian fighter. He's won 2 straight fights. Hasn't fought since December 8 of 2018, however, where he beat a 17-36 opponent with a ref stoppage. Before with Fight Club Den Haag. Not very familiar with that. Not familiar with any of the opponents he's faced in his career either. He's been finished by KO in 3 of his 4 losses. He was rear naked choked in the other one. Kieran's got legit power. Based on the very little amount of tape I can find on Jan, I feel that Kieran is several steps above Jan here, and Kieran should get the knockout.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is...
There, it's our buddy. Hey, UFC 205. This is the guy who deleted his comments. We clearly didn't watch any tape on Ryan Shelley, clearly. Okay. Thanks for coming back. You can take off now, 205.
Kieran Lister to me should deal with Jan here pretty easily. I mean, Jan's the opponents he's faced. Apologies for the whining of a German Shepherd, if you can hear it. I'm
just too busy with the whining of UFC 205 here. Ryan Shelley is not a good stand-up fighter. Got it. He's got a background in kickboxing.
Yeah, it looks bad in one fight.
I'm not going to pay attention to the dude who swore he's never going to watch this channel again. Keep watching, buddy.
Thank you for the analytics. I can't even remember what I was saying now. What was I saying? Oh, Jan versus Kieran. Yeah. The Yarman fight, again, you can't take a lot from these fights with someone that's got like 55 pro fights, but they've got 36 losses on that record, and Mendoza just looked terrible. And if you've seen anything from Stare Down, it's a corrupt organization that kind of pay off fighters anyway. Kieran's fought really good guys. He's not come away with I didn't think it was a draw. I did think he beat Decky McLean, to be fair. And Decky's a very large individual for this weight class. Mike Figelak, again, the loss, it's a decision loss. It was competitive. That, to me, is more than enough that he can beat Jan in this one. Jan's not looked super impressive when he's been at Cage Warriors before. So, for me, I think Kieran Lister wins this pretty convincingly as well.
Gotcha. Just making my response to Mr. UFC 205. Can't wait for his breakdown. Make sure to check out those breakdowns, guys. He knows it all. He knows that Makayev trains with somebody, so congratulations there. Kieran Lister minus 325, plus 250 on Jan here. It is somewhat of we're not sure with Jan what we're getting, so definitely want to make that clear. But should be a good opportunity for Kieran. He's definitely going to have the crowd behind him. We'll move on to the next fight here. And UFC 205, if you're trying to type right now, I put you in a timeout so that you can, get over your hissy fit and come back and not watch us. Or don't. I don't really care, dude. Really don't. Next fight is at 155 pounds here. El Hadij Diai. Nice, easy name there. Taking on Adam Cullen. This should be a interesting fight at 155. Adam Cullen, the Englishman on Next Generation MMA. I'll be breaking down first here. Good start to the career, obviously at 3-0, 6 foot tall, good grappler, 5 straight wins as well. All those wins coming by rear naked choke so far in the pro career. Mikhail Byram in his last fight, all with Cage Warriors as well. Good experience there. Byram at 5-1, definitely the most experienced opponent. And so far, he's gone 3 minutes in his fight. He gets it right to the ground, looks to take the back, and he's been able to, catch the neck in all 3 of his pro wins pretty easily. Now taking on a 4-0 El Hadaj Diai here out of Ghana. I don't have a lot of info on this guy. He's fought with organizations that I've been unable to find the tape on. He's got 3 decisions and a ground and pound win. Looks to be in good shape as well. Last fought in November of 2019. So Adam definitely has more rhythm coming into this fight. Adam by submission until otherwise, and until he kind of takes another step up here. But I don't know a lot about his opponent, so it's tough for me to make a complete clear pick here. But I got to go with Adam based on what he's shown me in his Cage Warriors career.
Yeah, I've only actually managed to find the Danny Blundell fight.
Yep,
that was all I could get. Adam Cullen is a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner early on in his career. There's actually Mike Owens has done interviews this week at Next Gen with Adam Cullen and Luke Riley, who's on next. If people want to know more about the guy personally, because I think he's the future of this division, to be honest. He's super slick, moves really well. He's got a lot of great guys around him. Unfortunately, if from a betting perspective, I'm not the best person to listen to for this one because of El Hadji. I haven't seen enough of him to make a... there's just not enough footage of him, unfortunately.
Right.
But from what we've seen of Adam looks the real deal. He doesn't get touched really, moves incredibly well, dictates the fight wherever he goes. I think I'm going to be backing Adam Cullen in this one by submission again, but I'm not sure. To be honest, based on El Hadji might come out and he's Francis Ngannou 2.0 for the weight class. I have no idea.
Yeah, we won't know. And the other thing, that's tough with Cullen is in the sub 3 minute fights, he's had any adversity. We don't know how he responds to it yet necessarily. He's got a good amateur career as well. He's got plenty of tape out there available on him, but his opponent is a complete wild card, minus 350 on Adam Cullen. I think it's a good price, but we don't know. Plus 275 on El Hadaji. We could be looking back at that after this fight. So you got 26 fights to choose from, 30 including the PFL. I think that, be kind of cautious here with guy going up against a pretty unknown guy in El Hadaji, but got to go with what we know here. Adam Cullen is our pick. Next fight is one of the best fights on the card, in my opinion, on either card. Really young, exciting prospects here in both English, so don't worry there. And Luke Riley taking on Jack Anglin. These guys are going to fight at least one more time in their career at another point when both have, I think, double-digit fights. I could see these guys crossing paths again for sure. Both guys extremely talented at what they do. Both guys 2-0. Both guys in their early 20s. Next generation MMA for Luke Riley. Dragon's Lair for Jack Anglin. Not as familiar with Dragon's Lair. Melkisham, but what I've seen from Jack Anglin, I've really liked so far. 2 straight wins for him. Last fought in October of last year. Good amateur record as well, going up against guys like Nathan Fletcher and Nick Bagley. He did come up short in those with Cage Warriors, but still good experience as an amateur. as a pro. Ground and pound finish in his Cage Warriors Southeast Academy debut. He got the ground and pound finish back in March of last year, and then March of 2020, October of last year, got a quick finish of the 0-1 Jimmy Fell. Got the rear naked choke in it. Good overall game. More of the grappler between the two of these. The striking edge goes to Luke. Grappling goes to Eglin. He's got a fight with Muhammad Makayev. Obviously, we all know as an amateur there. Got slammed and put away actually in that fight, but it's Makayev. So, what are you going to do there? But really good amateur experience there, a variety of kind of results, went to a decision in some fights. Decent stand-up. I think that's where Luke has to know he's got to keep this fight to get his bread buttered, though. Luke has a huge advantage, I think, when it comes to stand-up with most fighters in the lower aspects, especially at this point in his career. I think it's going to be competitive, though. But Luke Riley, some of the best hair in the sport right now. Last fought in December, looking extremely well with Cage Warriors. Took on a fellow debutant in Yuki on, and I'm going to try the last name, but a Japanese fighter who came in very physical and looking to push the pace, get the fight to the ground. Luke really showed his ability to kind of deal with that pressure. His movement was great. He's got 2 wins in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, both with his punches. He darts in and out, really good movement. He has not faced anybody with a huge amount of experience. I would say Jack Engelin has tested himself more as an amateur and as a pro. So that's kind of where I'm at in this one. I do think that it's a very close fight. I love Luke Riley. I really like what I've been seeing from Eglin too. It's just the striking or the grappling here for me. I'm going to take Luke Riley in this spot to be able to use the movement, work the takedown defense. I want to see his get-up game. I think we might have to see it in this fight. I do think Eglin's going to push for the grappling, and I think that as the fight goes on, I'm hoping that Luke's overall defense and movement are enough. And the offense on the feet, I edge significantly to Luke. So I'm going to go with Luke in this one, but it's definitely one that I'm cautious on. I think it's a very close fight, really competitive.
It definitely is very close. I remember telling you after I'd seen Luke Riley live make his debut at York Hall against Camille. Kid's got thunder in his hands. When do you ever see young 22-year-olds, that have that much power? Moved incredibly well. He counters really well. Jack's got the amateur record, to kind of back himself. I think if he can get this to the mat and hold Luke down, there's a legit chance of winning. But we haven't seen enough of Luke really to see whether he has the grappling, because no one's really come close to even trying to get him down. Everyone seems to want to have a kickboxing fight with him, and everyone ends up on the losing side of it. I think Jack's not stupid. I think he knows he's got to wrestle him here. I don't see him holding him down for 3 rounds, and I don't know if Luke's power is going to hold up, but I'm hoping it will. And if it does, it's going to be a sad night for one of these guys. I will also back Luke Riley in this one. I think he's got a lot of hype behind him, and Next Gen Liverpool have been ranting and raving and praising this kid. He from watching him live as well and watching how slick he was for making a debut, I couldn't believe it. So 22 years old, and he's a very mature 22-year-old as well. So I'm backing Luke, but I think it's a dangerous fight, and he could easily lose if Jack can get him down and hold him down. It's going to be a long night for Luke if Jack can do it quite easily, but I'm banking he can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a very close fight. It's -115 on both sides, so they're definitely expecting it to be a close fight. It's just it's really about what you think. And oh my God, I have the best this guy. All right, I'm gonna just give you Tapology Cappers useless. You're here still, dude. Also, Taekwondo is kickboxing. I'm just letting you know Taekwondo is a form of kickboxing. So I'm sorry I didn't use Taekwondo, but yeah, take off, buddy. We'll see you later. And Luke Riley and Eglin, that will wrap up that. And we'll move on to the 10th fight here. I'm like 24 fights into breaking down fights, and I have this dude who says he's never going to watch the show, who keeps showing up. You know what, dude? You're gone. See you later. Next fight here is it's just jealousy, man. It's amazing. Like go do your own channel, man. Like if I'm so useless, you are showing up here for free information. Peace out. Dude, I don't care. You don't give us any more chances. Like, but we don't do research. Okay. This dude is a fucking clown. Fucking hiding behind your computer screen, UFC 205. Start your channel, man. Can't wait to see your breakdowns. Dylan Hassan, the Irish wrestler here, taking on the Brazilian Raymondson Bruno here. And the next fight, third from the top. Very good competitive fight here at flyweight. So it is good to see Cage Warriors starting to get their flyweight division a little more recognized here. But Dylan, Italian, not Irish, I apologize here. Taking on the Brazilian Raymondson Bruno here. Formiga, another Formiga, 12-3. Last fought in 2019. Got the loss with AMC there. He has fought most of his career at flyweight, which is good to see a guy with this kind of experience there. He took on a 21-9 opponent with Fight Nights Global. It was a competitive fight. I did go back and was able to watch it with Fight Nights Global. I thought that Bruno just was a little bit too comfortable working from his back at times, but kind of happens with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials. Lots of good Jiu-Jitsu experience, both as a grappler and in MMA here. Hasn't fought a ton of very well-known fighters, but he has been fighting over in Europe for most of his career, so should be pretty comfortable coming into this fight. He's got some quick finishes. He's going to be put on his back here against Dylan Hazan, who is a very good wrestler here. Every single fight he looks to shoot. Sorry about the cops going by, but it's Washington, D.C. Last fought in October of 2021, so he is definitely the one who is fighting much more regularly. Fought with Cage Warriors his last two. Got a pretty dominating win over Joshua Reed. And prior to that, or after that, closer fight with Scott Malone. It was a split there. Scott Malone, not a bad fighter there.
I thought Scott won that fight as well.
I think that, it was a fight for Dylan where, he realized it can't just be the wrestling. So, I am a little bit curious on that in this fight. I don't know a ton about Raymondson Bruno, but I do think that I do expect this to be a close fight. If Dylan isn't able to get the wrestling working early, I think Raymondson could, have some advantages on the feet. Dylan's pretty rudimentary there, but it's a close one for me. I'm going to edge with the Brazilian here in Raymondson, but it's not one I'm looking to bet on.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dylan in this one.
Okay.
Banking on Josh Reed and Scott Malone are far better wins than anything Raymondson has to me. Scott Malone is legit, and Josh Reed is an absolute stud. I mean, he nearly knocked out Nathaniel Wood back in the day, if you remember that. That's the fight where he rocked Nathaniel, and they have a little slugfest. Nathaniel turns it around when he gasses his arms and cracks him one. I've not watched anything from Victoria Fight League before.
No, they're not available anywhere.
They're the sort of fights that worry me. Who are these guys you're facing when you've got 13 pro fights and you're facing someone with 7 and 6 of their fights, 6 losses on that guy's record, Alberto Ibanez. That doesn't say anything to me about how good you are as a mixed martial artist. You're not trying to progress your career. You're just taking fights for a record or a pay. It's one or the other. It's not like he couldn't get fights anywhere. He can definitely get them. Flyweight, he's 30 years old. I think Dylan is the real deal. I think he's got a great style for a flyweight division, especially in Cage Warriors, that he could easily achieve the belt here and move up to a higher organization. I really rate the Josh Reed and the Scott Malone so highly. I'll just put him above Raymondson almost immediately. I think stylistically, it's a nightmare for Bruno because he normally catches people when they're sitting in their guard. Dylan chops through; he absolutely slices through guards, and he looks to get to a dominant position. He doesn't just sit in guard and just kind of ground and pound. He tries to improve his position, tries to finish fights. He hasn't got the fights finished a few times, but again, it's when he's fought higher level of opponents. So right. I've got Dylan here. I think he'll finish him as well. I do think he'll get a ground and pound maybe late in the third, or try a submission or something. But I can see a finish. Definitely a decision. I definitely back Dylan 100% in this fight. I don't think Raymondson's good. I think he's got a very blown out record here.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not a fight I'm looking to bet on. I've just for a pick's sake, I went with Raymondson plus 125, minus 155 on Dylan Hassan, the Italian wrestler here. You know, he's going to look to wrestle, and yeah, I mean, it should be a decent fight. I just don't know enough. So taking a little bit of a shot there on the unknown. Going to bantamweight here. We're third from the top here. Going to be a little over 2-hour video here. We thought this would be 2 hours, but oh well, it happens. Don DeJuice is what I'm gonna call him. Don taking on Josh Reed. There we go. Nice easy name. We talked about Josh Reed. I feel like throughout the night, the Welsh fighter, Crazy Horse, 12-6 offshore MMA, taking on Gracie Barra, OSS fighter, Don here. Josh Reed coming off a win in his last fight. 12-6 though. We know he's had his moments. He beat a 4-0 Kurasiev at 127. Got the rear naked choke pretty early on in that fight. He's a finisher in the fights he wins. He's getting the finish. He's 3-3 in his last 6. Losing to Liam Giddens, Kovekanik, and Dylan Hazan, as we just mentioned there. I mean, we both rate Josh Reed pretty well here. He is well-rounded. He's losing to the best of the best, Brian Bouland, Scott Malone, Nathaniel Wood. I mean, he's losing to amazing level of competition. He is getting finished in a good amount of those fights here. Yeah. And, that is a little bit of the concern here. He's also finishing. I mean, he's a killer be killed type of guy at bantamweight. Don, I don't know as much about Don. It's another guy who they have a few guys on this card that not as much tape is available on. And this fighter is another one of those fighters, 7-1 last fall with FFC, which, again, is Fair FC 11, not even Freedom Fighting Championship. This is Fair FC 11. Never heard of it. Wasn't able to find either one of his last 2 fights. He does have a win over an undefeated 8-0 Gerardo Fanny, who we know very well. Got the triangle choke there. That's a really impressive win to have. And we know Gerardo's coming up here. He's mostly a ground fighter. He's got some ground and pound finishes as well as the submissions. He's a finisher as well. Someone's getting finished here. Again, I don't have enough about Don here. And so my at the end of the day, my pick is going to be with Josh Reed, but Don could really, get the finish here. Taekwondo isn't kickboxing. Taekwondo is a form of kickboxing. That's all I said. And both Shelleys are kickboxers in MMA. That's my main point. But go ahead. As we have Trace Williams catching up. It's probably UFC 205's other account. Go ahead.
I mean, I wouldn't bet on this fight, to be honest, unless you know a lot more about Don. I've seen a few of his fights. He hasn't wowed me in any of them. He's got the wins. Great. Looks good. Josh Reed, even with his losses, he's always looking to finish fights, which is a breath of fresh air for the division. I know a lot about Josh Reed, but there's no point in me ranting on about it if we know nothing about his opponent, to be honest. He's got a 7-1 record. Great. I've seen some of the wins. They're not that impressive. Josh Reed is impressive. Got great hands. He's got a questionable chin. He can be finished, hence the Nathaniel Wood. But again, that's a different level of opponent, as we've seen. He has great grappling, but he has been finished on the ground because he has holes in his game, and he always does. He's training with Short with Jack Short and his dad. They've got Brett Johns down there. They're very grappling heavy kind of base, and I can see him kind of maybe bringing that to this fight. I know for this camp he has been grappling a lot more than he has been striking. Again, I think the striking was always his bread and butter, and he always lacked on the grappling side. So maybe that comes with that approach to this fight. But I don't know enough about Don as well to kind of give an assessment of what he's going to bring to the table that might surprise Josh Reed.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, basically, and it's just, again, I'm not going to talk about the difference between Taekwondo and kickboxing for any more of this card. Oh my God. But we'll move on.
It is not exactly the same. No,
you're correct. They're not. Taekwondo is a light light combat sport that you cannot use in full contact sports because it's a point-based system. So you're correct. But I mean, if you want to ask Ryan Shelley or his brother Adam what if they're kickboxers or not, I promise you they will say we are. So anyways, really good talk there, Russ. Really good talk there. 2 hours into the breakdown, I'm having to talk about the different, like a subtle difference in semantics. Don't know the guy. Take it. You're never wrong about anything. Yep, that's me. What are you talking about? Aaron will be taking on, what the fuck are you talking about, Tracy? Taking on Gerard Fabi. Yeah, this is just gonna ignore the chat. Gerardo Fani here. Good fight at 125, 11-2. Gerardo Fani out of the Netherlands, taking on the Welsh fighter in Aaron Abi. Gerardo Fani, very exciting, high energy kind of fighter here. Had the win over Liam Giddens that we obviously talked about a little while ago. Started his UFC or his Cage Warriors career against Jack Cartwright, one of the best in the division. Got arm triangle choke there, no shame there. Followed it up with the flying knee finish of Connor Hignett, and then the really good performance against Liam Giddens that was at 130, where he was able to kind of just wear Liam down and put him away. He fought through some really tough adversity in that fight. Obviously had the fight against Don we just talked about where he got triangle choked. But just a very good, high energy, high pace type of guy. And Gerardo didn't have a ton of tests before coming to Cage Warriors, but looks to be the part so far. He's taking on a guy in Aaron Abaye who is very, very well rounded and he keeps a good pace throughout the fight. He's not the most talented guy in the world, but he just, he kind of keeps going, keeps a good pace, good cardio. Had a good fight with Sam Creasy, who honestly, Sam looked so good in that fight. It gave me kind of some false confidence moving forward on Sam. And then, of course, got the win over Samir Fadin in his last fight. Really good win. Samir, former Cage Warriors champion himself. And Abi he worked his way to where he needed the fight, worked into wrestling, had a really good pace and cardio to his fights. And, Aaron, he's good everywhere. He's not bad anywhere. He's not great anywhere. He's kind of just a jack of all trade type of guy. The thing that I'm curious with Gerardo is his last fight was at 130. This is at 125. That's got to be a tough cut for him to get down to 125. I really do question how this fight looks after that first round. I don't see Abby slowing down as this Abby, however you want to pronounce it. I don't see Aaron slowing down as this fight goes. I think that he keeps kind of the same pace. He goes about 70 to 75% type of guy for the whole fight. Gerardo has those points where he really spikes the volume in the activity, and then other points where he kind of lulls the activity. I think Abi can take advantage of points in the fight like that, but it's a tough fight. I think this is really close. I'm going to edge towards Gerardo Fani in this spot, just because I don't think Abi has quite the level of submission grappling to really push and pressure Gerardo on the feet. I think Gerardo will be able to get back to the feet and on the feet. I think he's got such a speed and variety advantage to his striking that Abi's going to have some trouble. If Abi's able to get a hold of him and get him down, this becomes Abi's fight to lose, though. But I do think Gerardo is going to be too much, and my worry of the weight cut is legit, but I'm gonna go with Gerardo Fani in this spot, and I like him to get a decision. I think it's going to be very competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I always compare Gerardo to like a flyweight version of Yoel Romero, where he can, like, especially against Liam Giddens. Liam Giddens came out the gate in that fight, didn't he? And he looked really good. And first round, we're like, Liam's got it on him. And what you saw from Gerardo was, I'm just going to preserve my energy. He ain't going to keep this pace up. And he just completely shelled up, and he used his footwork to stay away from the big shots. But then every time it was the pity padders, he just came back in the phone box and just held up a high guard. And then he unleashes. And the thing I love about Gerardo is he's a finisher. He absolutely will kill you to get you out of there. And I can see that being a real problem for Aaron in this fight. I think Aaron, as you say, he doesn't ever commit to something 100%. He does everything really well, but nothing great. Whereas Gerardo doesn't do everything really well, but he has a key for smelling blood, as it were. So I'm going to take Gerardo in this one based on the fact that I think if he hurts Aaron, he won't let him off the hook. If Aaron hurts Gerardo, I think there'll be time for him to get back up, find his feet, recover. I don't see Aaron finishing someone like Gerardo. I don't think he's as good as Jack Cartwright. I rate him very highly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it is a very close fight. I would not be surprised if Aaron won. If Aaron wins, I guarantee it's by decision. If Gerardo wins, I guarantee he finishes him. That's
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Gerardo could win. But yeah, that's fair. It should be a good one here. And by the way, the odds, Abby is the plus 140 favorite. I'm not going to lie. I definitely can see the justification that bet. Minus 170 on Fanny. That's a little tougher there. That's a little tougher of a price. I think that it's a little closer than that, but I do think Fanny should be the slight favorite. But Aaron Abbey is better than a lot of people realize. And
he's very good.
Yeah, I think that 125 is a huge difference from the 130 catch weight as well. So just all things that we definitely want to keep on track. But we are to the co-main event, second from the top. Or actually, that was the co-main event. We're at the main event. I apologize. We have arrived at the 26th and final fight of the breakdown card here for this breakdown. It's been a very interesting one. Appreciate it.
It's the best fight.
Is this the best fight? Is this? Okay. Yeah. It might be. It probably is the best fight of the weekend, actually. We got it is the only championship bout of the weekend in middleweight championship, or the Cage Warriors middleweight championship between Jati Milan and Christian Leroy Duncan. What a matchup this is here. I really like this fight, starting with the challenger, Christian Leroy Duncan. This guy is a guy that Will Curry sees in his sleep. Poor Will Curry. Had to fight this guy twice in a row. That is just brutal. No one should have to fight Christian Duncan twice in their career, let alone back-to-back 5 straight wins for Christian. All of them coming by finish except for the decision domination of Will Curry in the second fight. Came back against Justin Moore at the end of last year and showed I can also grapple a little bit. Rear naked choke, you sunk it in really nice. And, and I'll give you credit, Trace. I busted your balls a couple times and you've come back well. So good for you, man. I didn't really think you were the 205 account. He'll come back saying how he's never going to watch this channel again. He's still here right now watching. But yeah, Christian Duncan, the guy looks like he's got the goods, man. Been in Cage Warriors his whole career. The punches, the finishing ability, a couple second round finishes. They're not all just sub 1 minute finishes here. So it's good to see he can carry it through a round. I like to see that. He seems to be getting better by the fight at 26. He seems to be learning MMA still. The hands are an absolute tool. He has an extensive amateur career with IMAF as well. And facing guys like Magomed Khabib Umarov, who is was very good at the amateur level. And all
the scary names in that one, isn't it?
yeah, it's all of them in one. He's got to be good. Magomed Khabib Umarov, all together, that might be the greatest fighter besides Hazmat. But Jati Milan, he's got to look to come in here and make this a slog, just boring, ugly, messy, gross. All the things that you can use to describe Milan, all the reasons that he was an underdog against Matthew Bonner in the last fight. Milan just does it, and I just might leave this up the rest of the time. Amen, Trace. You cannot be talking shit with thin skin. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Too often, I bust people's balls, and they think I'm upset. I'm not. I'm comfortable. This is what we do. We talk shit. So agree with you, Trace. Or Tracy. Tell me which one it is. I'm going to say Trace unless otherwise. But, yeah, you got to be able to bust balls and give it. But, Milan, he doesn't have the most technical striking. He doesn't have the most technical grappling. it's just effective. Like, this guy is just effective, and he knows how to win. Like, the Bonner fight was one that, for me, I was like, oh, Bonner's going to be able to out-grind him, maneuver him, use the IQ. Milan's not that good, hasn't faced a good level of competition. I don't know. I don't know what it is about this Milan guy, but he's just really, really good. I think the luck runs out here for the Ivory Coast representative in Milan. I think you got to be more than a grinder to take out Duncan, and I kind of just rate Milan as a very good grinder who has been fortunate in the higher level of opponents he's faced. I think that Duncan is better each time we see him. I think he's, really tough to take down and on the feet. Okay, Trace, right on Trace. But yeah, I mean, a part of me kind of wanted to be the smartest man in the room and be like, Milan, grind it out, another decision. I just don't think Duncan's going to allow it. I think Duncan showed against Will Curry that he really has developed those other aspects of his game. Will Curry's a very well-rounded, good fighter himself. I would probably pick Will Curry over Milan as well. Milan, to me, he's an overachiever, man. He had a lot, and I think that he's in too deep here. I think Bonner, he wasn't in too deep against. I think this is the moment that he's in too deep. Christian Duncan takes him out inside of 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, Milan hasn't finished anybody in like 5 or 6 years. It's worrying.
Since 2017.
There you go. Was that 5 years?
Yep.
It's a long time, man, to not finish anyone with that record. 5 years, you should be fighting how many times a year?
He's been very inactive too.
Very
inactive.
I don't like that. From what you see with Christian is sensational.
Yes.
People see 5-0 and they're like, oh, he's barely fought anyone. He's got the IMAFF is the highest
professional. Professional amateurs.
Exactly that. It's exactly that. And before that as well, Cage Warriors Academy. He's had nothing but difficult fights for most of his amateur and pretty much all. Getting Will Curry. Okay, Will Curry. Whatever you want to say about that first fight, I don't think it was stopped early. I think that was a legit win for Leroy Duncan here. But that is not an easy fight to rematch yourself. Will Curry's gone.
And he didn't blink. And he didn't blink at all. He's so unfazed by these guys.
And to make Will Curry, the guy that opened his last fight with a question mark kick, landed his back foot, and then front kick.
He was a minus like 1,200 his last fight, Will Curry.
To make that guy hesitant for 3 rounds and bully
4 rounds, technically, including the first fight.
Yeah, exactly. To bully that guy, someone like, Christian Leroy Duncan is the real deal, and I'm going to say finishes Milan here within 1 round. I'm going to say statement. Nick takes the belt, raises it high, gets a defense.
And then the UFC signs him before he gets out of the cage.
Yeah, I think he'll need a defense. Just based.
I don't know if the UFC will wait around for a defense just in case.
It might be contender series then.
I really think he's the type of guy who's going to justify being signed early, like an Ian Gary.
I really hope so. Oh, that word early. Come on.
What was Ian Gary? 6-0.
7-0, but he did
still 7-0 to get signed to the UFC is crazy.
Yeah, start to finish. Yeah, but he's got.
That's all I mean. I'm just saying.
He's got people that work for the UFC.
Trust me. I'm just saying. He was 6-0 when he got signed, and Duncan would be 6-0 after this fight. Duncan is talented enough.
Yeah, if Duncan it's not, be higher. If he,
I think Duncan is absolutely amazing, and in the 205, I think he could be a 205er eventually too. I think at 185, it's fucking crazy.
He's the perfect 185. If he doesn't have any issue making the weight, he's got a brilliant frame for it. He's got knockout power, diverse striking skill set.
Trace. To be honest, if it weren't for shows, I'd be a Tapology capper. I don't know any of these fuckers. There's times where we gotta be Tapology cappers. I'm sorry, when the video is not available, we cannot watch the video. We try to always make that clear when we haven't watched the video. And I use Tapology because, for one, I want there to be something on the screen to look at besides me, and for two, these are my notes. I take the notes in here.
Point. Occasionally, I need a reference.
Right. I'm not just going on Tapology and being like, let me start a YouTube channel.
I think that guy wants more in-depth breakdowns. And for those 205, visit Norton MMA and you might see.
Yeah, Norton MMA has 10-minute videos on each. And Norton Lewis is actually trained in multiple martial arts. I have not. I trained Taekwondo when I was like 13 years old. That's it. Like, I've watched a lot. I don't do so. If you want in-depth breakdowns with the technical, go to Norton MMA. If you want breakdowns where we talk about the fights, where we talk about what we witnessed and how we feel the fights are going to go, Underdog MMA is here for you. So, with that being said,
we both got Leroy Duncan here.
Yeah, we both got Leroy Duncan. By the way, Leroy Duncan only a minus 260. Take it. Parlay that. I do believe he is a very good parlay piece. And I will be back tomorrow with Lucky Locks picks for the PFL Challenger Series Week 7. It's the final week, and all the fighters are making their debuts. So if there's not amateur tape to watch, we're not going to have a lot to say, but we're still going to come back with it tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, right around the time. About 24 hours from now, 23 hours from now, PFL Challenger Series. That is the breakdown of the 135 and 136 Cage Warrior cards. All of the timestamps will be up in the comments after this video. And for everybody who checked it out, UFC 205, I know you're still here, I'm sure. Trace, appreciate it. It's like, Tapology, exactly. At times, Tapology is a tool. Don't rely on it. Don't over MMA math it, but it is definitely a tool that can help you be aware of how ready these guys are. So, I don't know what else we're supposed to do. UFC 205, Trace Williams, Visceral, UFC Betting Experience, always appreciate you. Everybody else, Norton, Lewis, obviously appreciate you making the time. Appreciate you all out there, the haters, the lovers, all of the above. Keep taking care of each other out there and have a great day. Peace out.